Yo, man, the feds pulled up to my house last night. They had badge IDs and a big black van. I don't know what to do, they got photos of everything. Foliage, debris, the whole 9 yards. What am I supposed to say?
Say it wasn't you. But they got me on camera. Didn't matter, say it wasn't you. And what about the lights in the sky?
Those,
it wasn't flares.
It wasn't flares. Agent knocked and he caught me red-handed, chatting with a grey in my garage. Picture this, we were swapping intergalactic gossip on the world. Do I say it wasn't me? Caught me scanning the skies with radar. Caught me downloading files from the NSA. Had a Roswell rock collection on the counter, and a flying saucer parked along the driveway. It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't flares.
It wasn't flares.
It wasn't flares.
It wasn't flares.
The alien in the basement.
It wasn't me.
The crop circle in the yard.
It wasn't me.
Those glowing orbs above the hill. Stephen Greer says it wasn't flares. Yeah, it wasn't flares. They reviewed the security footage, caught me waving at a tic-tac in the sky. They got thermal imaging of the landing and a close-up of me shaking hands goodbye. Caught me hosting a Weapon summit, caught me trading tech for cosmic recipes. Had a holographic star map on the ceiling, 14 men in black all staring back at me. It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't flares.
It wasn't flares.
It wasn't flares.
It wasn't flares.
The bioscan results, it wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
The missing time last Tuesday, it wasn't me. Those dancing lights on the hilltop, though, 100% it wasn't flares.
Oh my God.
Oh, that was awesome. That was so great.
I can't breathe. Oh, man.
Oh, Gerbio.
It's all about Gerbio, man. Oh my
It's
God.
all 2026 is Gerbio's year. Wow.
Today is officially Gerbio Friday. I'm naming it.
Justin, you've now set a standard that you have to beat each week, and that's it.
That was awesome.
A+.
Yep.
Mr. Justin, ladies and gentlemen, put that together. He's worked hard on that. Yeah, give it up. That was
beautiful.
Unbelievable. Wow. Okay, so Justin's going to do one of those a week now, I think, right? Was it one a week?
Oh, shit.
maybe once a month. Wow. Well, welcome to Doomer Friday, everybody. That was awesome. We didn't know whether we were going to do that. In fact, no one had seen that yet. I actually didn't even watch it. I wanted to wait. I just watched it for the first time right there. But it's Doomer Friday, your safe space for talking about all the scary shit in the world. But this Doomer Friday is a little bit different because this week the show is about heroes. Yeah, real heroes. I'm talking about Eric Schlimmer, who is the man of the hour right now, because tell him what you did, Eric. You're very famous right now.
When I got
sorry to
here,
put you on the
Pavel,
spot, man, but
no, that's okay. When I got here, Pavel's like, "There's the hero," and for the last 4 days, I've been in the eastern part of Albuquerque, New Mexico, looking for General McCasland. I was actually hiking in northern New Mexico just for fun. And I had the sudden realization that I could be doing something better with my time. And so that evening, I drove the extra 2 hours down to Albuquerque, found a place to camp, and then bright and early the next morning, started looking at maps and showed up at the open space that he may be lost in, and transitioned into the national forest, which he may be lost in. I ended up spending 4 full days. I covered 8.5 million square feet via 40 miles of hiking. Before I became a therapist, I was a backcountry ranger and served in the Army. So I was trained in search techniques. I'm really familiar with hiking. I thought I was a good candidate. So I went down and did my best to help.
What was the experience like? What did you see?
The terrain is very unforgiving. I like to use the terms rugged and parched. It's high desert, east side of Albuquerque. There's no water. It's just a lot of cactuses, cliffs, boulders, loose soil, etc. As I'm hiking, I'm also scanning the terrain really closely, and so I'm doing maybe a half mile an hour to 1 mile an hour. It starts out fairly open terrain that you could search really easily with a drone, but as you rise in elevation, the vegetation gets thicker, and now you're getting into legit mountains and canyons, etc. There is a very intricate, well-maintained trail system, but the general is not on a trail. We would have found him by now. So quite rugged. Luckily, it's terrain I'm really familiar with from trekking in the desert Southwest.
What's your sense of what could be going on, considering who he is and his background and knowledge and the area and the landscape?
Mhm.
Does it make sense that he would be out there in the first place and would get lost? Someone like him?
Right. Good question. When I showed up, I started in his neighborhood. So I drove to his street. We don't know the exact address, but I drove to Quail Court Northeast. Got out of my car, just kind of looked around if you were going to leave the neighborhood, which way you would go. And so a lot of people have been bewildered by there not being any Ring camera footage. But the way the neighborhood is designed is you can walk out your backyard and there's a series of little homemade paths that go up to the open space. And residents use that so they don't have to walk on the paved road, and called Pinot Canyon. So I started at the house, went up Pinot Canyon. That's about where the Air Force sweatshirt was found, which it's still not determined if it's his or not. So it's not a mystery of how he got in there undetected. Where he went from there, I have my own guesses, and they align with the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department. Where they were searching, I later found out, is exactly where I was searching. I remember last time we spoke, I don't have any special knowledge, but I'm just going by what I know as a therapist. The very little I know about the general, I believe he is deceased about where I and other people were searching.
What makes you feel that way?
There are a couple of things. And I'm not declaring this as fact. I don't know. This is just what my gut is telling me, and my experience is that he went up there and he took his own life. Okay. From a therapeutic standpoint, he would fall into what I would call a higher than average risk matrix. 68 years old, white male, access to privacy, access to a firearm. Okay, those can add up to devastating consequences. I was talking to a friend about a week ago. He said, "Well, where's General McCasland?" I say, "Man, I don't know. Anybody's guess is as good as mine." And I said, "But I will change my theory if it's reported a firearm is missing from the house." And sure enough, that was reported. The other thing that's missing is his wallet. Again, this is just a theory. That would be a way to identify him. Okay. He did not take any smart devices such as his phone and his watch. A lot of people say, well, that's because he didn't want to be found. I disagree with that. It is so he couldn't be reached. Okay. It was so he was out of contact and he could have privacy. Again, this could all be proven wrong, and I would not be surprised. Yet, if I was forced to guess what happened, it would be something along these lines.
something along those lines. Wow.
And what wasn't his sweatshirt found on the trail as well, which could be something that you would leave as like a,
Yes.
I'm going this way type thing.
Correct.
Yes.
So there was a little confusion as to where it was found. It was originally reported 1.25 miles up a trail. So I was thinking you go to the trailhead, hike in almost a mile and a half and find it. It was found 1.25 miles from the house, which is about where he entered public land. The family has not confirmed that it's his sweatshirt, but hey, what a coincidence. An Air Force career officer is missing. Here's an Air Force sweatshirt. Now, this is just another theory I have. I'm thinking it's a matter of symbolism, and people do this where they shed a former version of themselves.
Whoa.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because based on your theory that he took his own life or
Mhm.
decided to do that, that terrain, that part of the US, does it have any large predators in the area, like pumas and stuff like that? Cougars,
Mountain lions.
Right.
mountain lions?
Good
Okay.
question. People have brought this up as well. There are, yet the chances of being attacked, let alone killed, are
That's
basically nil.
what I was thinking though was if he did that, he took his own life, the body was still there, right? So if it was fresh, like yeah.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I misunderstood. Yes. So I know in past searches that I know people have been on, in at least one case, they found the body by birds flocking around it.
Sure.
And so there are some cues that nature can put out. When it comes to the firearms, some people were thinking, well, and what I thought you're asking, they were saying, well, there are mountain lions and bears and stuff like that up there, so he would bring it to protect himself. His wife said that was never the case. He hiked without it, and that it was strange that it went with him this time.
Question. Is it also possible that, because we have to look at the two other possibilities, one of them is sort of conspiratorial. Is it also possible that he, one, took his gun and just his wallet in case something happened to him because he felt that like he was probably going to need the gun for a meeting or something? He didn't want to be traced. So that's also possible, right? Still.
It certainly is. Yeah, there
Yeah.
are a lot of possibilities. Anything's possible. The main question is, what is probable?
Yeah.
I know that one other person has mentioned the theory I have. That's an ex-FBI agent who was featured in a Newsweek
Yes.
article.
Yeah.
And when I read that, I was like, yeah, that's kind of the same thing I'm thinking. But there's just so little information. If you think about this from day one, and we're somewhere around day 23 right now, not much information has been gleaned, and we're still pretty much guessing where the general is.
Yeah.
What is possible from the air over terrain like that? I mean, is it possible to do any kind of useful search by air?
Yes. So initially what they were doing, so there are generally 3 phases to a search. The first one would be hasty. And so you quick run out and you're going to the picnic areas and the trailheads and the campgrounds, and maybe you're going to see them there or on a trail. After that, you can start a sweep, which is a bit more methodical. According to the sheriff's office, that's where they brought in drones, and you can just racetrack a drone around or just run it in a grid-like pattern over the lower elevations. So it's almost all an open field with a couple trees scattered around.
Mm-hmm.
They also brought in a helicopter with FLIR, forward-looking infrared, so that would be able to detect body heat. That's how sensitive it is. However, if the person is deceased, they're obviously not putting that heat out anymore. And then sometimes they work in unison and sometimes they're a bit different. they're searching in what you would call a high probability area. Okay, so we think that this person went there. Okay, a part of that equation is it probable that you'll detect them, which is a little bit different. Okay, and so as the time goes on, and you've already scanned the area with drones, FLIR is now ineffective or pointless. Now this dynamic is changing a little bit. So the place is so rugged. It's just amazing. Giant boulders and brush. There were a lot of parts, though I'm looking really carefully. There could have been something 10 feet away on the other side of a boulder. I don't have the time to go around every boulder.
Right, right.
And so,
But what is the radius that makes sense for a guy his age and ability? Like, how far could he conceivably get before, if he succumbs to just dehydration or whatever?
right. Great question. So he's 68 years old, but he's in really good shape. He's a cyclist, he's a skier, he's a hiker. Okay, so being physically able, and he left before noon, and it gets dark around 6 or something like that. So he's got 6 hours. Let's say he's going 1.5 miles an hour. He can go in 9 miles. Okay. The sheriff's office spoke to some of his friends, and I was dying to know this question myself. Where does he like to go? Where is he comfortable? All right. And it's a place called Domingo Baca Canyon. And it was just surreal. As I'm searching the canyon, the press conference comes out and says, if you're going to look anywhere, you should be in the canyon. So it's just weird. So I'm up there. So he could be up there. But if the theory is correct that he took his own life, that puts in another part of the equation where you may want to go to your favorite destination 5-6 miles in. But there are two things. Primarily, you're seeking privacy. That can be seen sooner. But your nerves are strung as tight as a piano wire. You can't physically hike to your destination. So I consulted actually with AI quite a bit, trying to build this matrix of a likelihood. I'm thinking, the sheriff's office is thinking, and AI was thinking somewhere around 3 miles in. So that would be a mile from the house and then 2 miles into the mountains.
So somewhere in there is as far as he could be reasonably expected to have made it under those conditions.
Yeah, they're thinking somewhere around there. Now, the canyon theory I was into, like he really liked Domingo Baca Canyon. I've abandoned that. I think it's too far. And it's a very narrow canyon with a trail. He would not want to run into another person. I don't think he would risk having an encounter with maybe somebody he knew.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about 3 to 4 miles from his house.
Wow.
If this theory is correct.
If that's correct. But I mean, how often does someone that close to their point of departure, right? If they're within 4 to 5 miles from their point of origin, is it common to not know where they are by this point, by 20 days in? I mean,
it is. It
really?
is. Yeah. So in general, some people were asking me, so when I showed up,
like how
on day
lost
17,
is lost, I guess is what I'm asking. How lost can you get?
Right. How lost can you get? Yeah, you would think you would be in that area. Most searches are seriously scaled back around the 2-week point. Okay.
Yeah.
So I got there at day 17. It was pretty much a ghost town. I did actually just run into some deputies in Albuquerque and came up to them because I needed to find out how I could submit any information I might have. We got to talking and I said, man, I didn't see anybody out there. And they go, yeah, it's usually scaled back about 2 weeks. He goes, but we do have a unit going up there. It's called the Open Space Unit, the OSU. And these are deputies trained in backcountry search techniques. So at this point, a lot of this area has been gone over with a fine tooth comb. It's like 80 to 90% probability that area is clear. And now, from what I've been told and through the press conference, is if some new information comes up, they'll check it out. Okay, so for example, I found something out there. I don't think it belongs to the general. It's a water bottle, but it's a special hiking water bottle. And I found it off trail, which was very odd. Okay. So I took a photo and I've been talking to the sheriff's department and they're going to send it to relatives to say, is this his bottle? I would have heard back from now. So it was simply a lost bottle. But they're still accepting these leads where I found a piece of a red backpack. I found this weird footprint. Then they'll go into the field and check it out. But right now it's been seriously scaled back because they searched so much.
Did
Yeah,
the Air
like
Force
7
contribute to
days.
the search effort or the military?
That was my next question, Claire. I was going to ask the same thing. If the military ever gets involved for
Right.
look at that.
Right. So according to the press conference from the sheriff's office, it was Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department, volunteers, I should say a volunteer trained searchers, the FBI, but I'm under the impression the way things were worded that the FBI was more in the urban interface canvassing the neighborhood. They stopped at 700 different homes. I think I read the Air Force was not involved at all. Now, AI pointed something out, but I don't know how plausible this is. They said, well, I wonder if they're scanning the terrain with satellites. That's quite possible.
Yeah.
I mean, they can pretty much read my license plate from space. So though no one's on the ground, there may be something going on above us that we don't know about.
Right. And they could have done, they had that capability at least 30 years ago. So whatever they have now. And we're talking, for people who don't know, General William Neil McCasland is a highly decorated retired Air Force Major General whose career and recent personal life have become a major point of interest within the UFO community, because he not only holds a PhD in astronautical engineering from MIT, he was the commander of the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and managed a $4.4 billion science and technology portfolio overseeing hypersonics, directed energy weapons, and space vehicles. And he was also the director of special programs at the Pentagon, where he served as the executive secretary for the Special Access Program Oversight Committee, which gave him purview to the military's most sensitive black budget programs. He talked to Tom DeLonge. He sent Tom DeLonge. They exchanged a number of different emails, and Tom identified him as a key advisor who supposedly had direct knowledge of the Roswell debris and its storage at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which tracks with somebody with his credentials. So the hypothesis right now is that he was possibly a gatekeeper for this highly classified program that is starting to sort of come to light in recent months and years. And that's why it seems really weird that there wouldn't be a bigger government search under, it seems like the military would want to find this guy. You don't want this guy's knowledge falling into the wrong hands. He's, even retired.
Did he know the JPL scientist that went missing on a hike last year? Was it last year or late year before? I think they knew each other as well, right?
It was in June, yeah. She worked under him. And the weird part about that was when they were hiking, she was like 30 feet behind the person that she was going with.
That's so
and
weird.
She just vanished, vanished. And 4 days later, they declared her deceased, which is also really strange.
Yeah, they
Could
never
he have been?
a trace of her. Gone.
Could he have been? Is anyone seriously considering that he could have been? I don't know, snatched by a foreign adversary?
As we said, anything is possible right now.
But
the most logical explanation, I think, is what sadly Eric is talking about. That's the more logical. But you know what types of topics we deal with here. Did you guys see that account that allegedly may have been Neil McCasland that went dark on the same day he was declared?
We talked about it last week a bit.
Yeah. We should show that again.
There's like this tweet from this account where they say that many of the different engineers and physicists and scientists often take the option of the house that is protected in order to avoid getting offed by Raytheon and other companies bad people. And I was like, whoa, that's wild.
Wait. What? Say that again.
He said that there is like this safe house that they go to and decide to like retire to, sort of, in order to avoid getting killed by aerospace companies, basically, if they know too much.
Wait, who's
Essentially,
they?
that's what the scientists who work at this stuff. He made it seem like he knew way more about these topics than that. He was like an engineer working on one of these projects. If you see a lot of the stuff that he posted, it's like really clear that he was working on propulsion and all this stuff.
Oh, on the Twitter account?
Yes.
Yeah. I looked at we were looking at some of the schematics that he drew by hand, some of the diagrams that he kind of sketched out, or whoever. I don't know who sketched them, but that's what was posted on the account. They were really weird, very detailed.
And there's people who say that it's not him. I mean, that's also possible, but it's pretty weird, the activity that account has gotten.
I feel like you could answer that question with a handwriting not a handwriting, but a writing analysis in like 10 seconds.
Yeah,
you could just analyze those tweets and look at some of his own stuff, and then you'll know within a percent or two.
Hey Pavel, that Twitter account, is it Dragonfly NDA or Dragon F Linda? What's her name? Is it her name, Linda?
Oh, that's Linda.
Okay,
Thompson. That's Linda Thompson.
So,
but
Linda had this tweet, which is kind of interesting. She said, "Someone here in UFO Twitter, I know the name, mentioned there are secured nursing home facilities for military who held high security clearances. In case with dementia, etc., they start talking about such things. The personnel around them cleared. McCasland had visited someone in one. It's likely that type of arrangement."
Yeah, and it could be
know
both, right?
Shit, if you know
they
arranged,
they erasered him.
Kind of.
Remember Eraser?
Yeah.
Does anyone watch that movie?
Schwarzenegger, of course.
Well, I think that both things can be true, though, that they do it because sometimes they start losing it because of dementia and they can start talking about it for their own safety. But they also, it would make sense if any of this is true, is that they go hiding just to avoid getting persecuted after they retire or when they want to retire.
I could see both. I could easily see a situation where you have a retired high-ranking military official with advanced knowledge in really specific, very strategic areas, and that person reaches a certain age where, based on the actuary tables and, whatever, you can say that they're probably dealing with some dementia issues. If they're retired and they're in a facility, you could have intelligence agents infiltrate as staff. You could have people, sit down and just start having conversations, build a relationship. You could get all kinds of information out of someone like this.
Yep.
They've got to be of enormous value. So with that common sense sort of approach, it makes sense to me that when you say that there might be some kind of safe house somewhere that these guys just go, like they do. There are groups that the French Foreign Legion has a thing like that, where they have a whole like place where the retired legionnaires go and they live there. They live out their days. They get fresh identities.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, it would make sense that, I don't know, McCasland is like, if any of this is true, McCasland knows a lot, right?
Yeah.
And how things are like ramping up lately. If this is true, and people like him who have this knowledge would preferably want to be safe whenever shit goes down, right? Like, so that also makes sense to me. If all of this that we talk about constantly has any truth to it,
you're talking about the big event,
everything, like him being part of Legacy, him being one of the people that with the most knowledge about this, both propulsion and about the beings and everything, it makes sense.
And if you were China, I'm sure you'd like to get your hands on a guy like that, or Russia. Or maybe you'd be willing to pay a tremendous amount of money, or, who knows what kind of espionage shit goes on with these guys. And that's just one avenue. And then, as you said, he could be maybe just disappeared into some kind of like safe house.
I mean, if narcos do it in my country, like many of them have done it. Do you guys know about this in Sinaloa? Narcos who were killed, allegedly, their like burial grounds are fucking mansions. Have you seen this before? This is
No.
real. I'll show it to you when I look for it. It just came up to me, and it's real. Like there are mansions, and they're supposedly buried there, but it's like a mansion. Like it's funny. If they do it, why can't these guys do it? Like fake their death. It's beneficial, you know.
So what? So are you kind of playing with the idea that maybe if Chris Bledsoe's
Speculating.
speculating, we're spitballing here, right? We're not saying anything is for sure, but if something were to go down this year, as it has been widely rumored this year or next year, somewhere in this pocket, we're in the pocket now. Something could go down any minute. Maybe we need our best and brightest guys safe and sound in that big underground bunker somewhere. And you've got to disappear. You can't.
And the fireballs falling from the sky over the last week, like 5 or 6 of them, that's fucking weird too.
Doomy real quickly.
We had to get to the doom.
I imagine if McCasland was taken to like a safe place for that reason you're saying, Clint, I feel like his wife probably would have been invited to come along. I feel like they both would have disappeared unless she could meet at a later time. You know, usually with those things, like you get passage for like you and your family if you're one of the chosen ones.
You wouldn't just leave your wife hanging.
Well, we don't know his wife. Maybe he would. I don't know.
She made that weird joke, so we don't know the relationship they have.
He's like, fuck this bitch, man. No way.
I'm going to fucking disappear. We've all dreamed about hiking into those mountains.
Yep.
But the larger point here is, I guess, that we don't know, and it's all speculation, but there are some Occam's razor does apply, as Eric has pointed out, and I think that's probably as reasonable a conclusion as any. But more than anything else, I just think it's really impressive, and my hat's off to you, Eric, for taking the time out of your life to go actually put your own boots on the ground and look for this guy out in some really unforgiving place. And
some real human being shit. So thank you.
Yeah, dude. That was great.
Well,
what a guy.
I really appreciate that. It's really lonely. You're out there by yourself, and it's super stressful because I went there to help, but to be honest, I didn't want to find anything. I don't want to have that experience personally, but if it happened, it happened. And I kept it kind of on the down low till News Nation found me wandering around a parking lot sunburned. But before
is that how that happened?
I was just really out there on my own. And
we got to hear the clip.
Yeah. And Pavel kept in touch with me. So thanks, Pavel. I really appreciate it. I had a couple people just kind of checking in. And
thanks to Dan for giving me the heads up that you were out there, because I didn't know. And Dan was the one who alerted me. So yeah.
Well, Eric asked, he was asking like who knows the most, who's the most up to minute person. I said Pavel for sure. Like Pavel should be your guy behind the scenes.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, I think it was I was watching Matt Brown on Weaponized, and he's such a stud anyway, you know, just what a great guy. And I was thinking about, I'm not all the way through the interview yet, but I'm working my way through it. And I got to the part where he was talking about the personal cost of just being, you know, in the situation that he's in. And he's in the situation he's in because he's a good guy, and he's one of the good guys. And that's what good guys do. You get into, you know, you take one for the team. And I'm just thinking about the types of people who you see coming forward in this movement to get to the truth are really some of the best people, just truly some of the most human beings with the biggest hearts and the most concern for their fellow humans that I've ever come across.
That he can help in this search for General McCasland. He told me about some of the dangers that people might face if they are stuck out here in the mountains, whether or not they get disoriented or not. He also expressed a bit of disappointment at what he's seeing as a lack of real effort from these local officials to try to find the general.
So I've been spending most of my time off trail, and it's very, very rugged. A lot of loose rock, loose soil, cactuses, boulders, extremely rugged terrains. I'm really surprised I haven't seen anyone. So I got here 3 days ago now. I'm under the impression that a lot of the searchers are volunteers, so they're going to be out here on a weekend. But I was out here all day Sunday, didn't see anyone. I haven't seen any aircraft, haven't seen any drones, haven't seen any searchers.
So again, the focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems strange to me, given the wealth of knowledge that just walked off into the desert.
Yeah. And
Yes and no. Yeah.
I might have said this at the beginning. I didn't find it suspicious, but I thought it was a little odd. So I thought the search would extend more for who he is and being a local resident. I thought those two would maybe extend it a couple days, but you know, this is the other thing. As you move up and clear areas and search, it kind of spreads out like a fan, and so it's hard to word it, but like if you clear this area, there's just more area left. It's like it could just be a huge thing. And some people say, well, searching is like a needle in a haystack. And I told Alex at News Nation, I was like, dude, I don't even know if I'm at the right farm, like let alone the correct pile of hay. It was total guesswork. I mean, it's educated guesswork, but I was guessing.
But that's my point, though, is like given the portfolio, the $4.4 billion portfolio that this guy used to manage, he's a very high-ranking, guy with a lot of very strategic technical knowledge. I mean, the knowledge that he's walking around with is literally the same information they kill people for.
Yeah,
if Tom DeLonge is correct, and so far Tom, he knows his shit. I have no reason to doubt what he says, but if Tom is correct, this guy knows where the bodies are from Roswell. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you would expect to see, at least the Air Force or make an appearance. I would think, for a guy like that, they would just say, well, we need to get some people out there, or at least run some aircraft over the area.
Yeah, it's one of your own, it's one of your own guys.
Yeah. Wasn't Tom also told to shut up? Because he was doing way too many interviews and he just like went dark after the Rogan interview. I think that happened.
DeLonge, maybe? I don't know. Was he told to shut up?
Yeah, because from 2014 to 2016, he did interviews with like Jimmy Church, Linda Moulton Howe, and that's where he spoke about like the whole thing, like what he wrote in Secret Machines. That's what he discussed in all of those interviews.
Yeah,
and there was a certain moment when he just stopped. And it happened right after the Rogan interview. And it was weird because he was talking about some wild stuff about like ancient gods and all that,
To be fair, too, that's also when he reunited with Blink-182 and they got busy right away, which has led to like nonstop work since then. Records,
and he's got to do
stores.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his bread and butter.
And you know what? Maybe part of him coming back was like, dude, you got to slow down on the UFO stuff because it might be weird for the band.
Oh yeah, good.
Those conversations do happen. By
Mark
the way, I promise
did
you.
Tell him, yeah.
Like there were definitely band discussions about, hey, the stuff that you like on the side, it's making us look ridiculous. Please stop. I'm not saying that happened, but those talks do happen.
Yeah,
I think. I know we're going to talk about Matt Brown's interview in a minute, but one of the things that jumped out at me when I was watching it was he makes a really great point about like this is something that is going to take more than just posting on Twitter or putting up a Facebook post or going to a I don't know what going to a congressional hearing or calling your congressman. This is going to take focused, sustained, organized political action. Like people are going to have to get active and expend real energy and like really put their hearts into this to move the needle on what he says is the most important issue there is. It's just that people aren't aware of it. And so it's like this, to see people, jump in and get involved, like just the way you did, Eric, is, I mean, I was blown away when I saw that. I was just,
very inspiring.
I talked to you, and I know you like your solitude, and we've discussed this. I do too. And it's like for you to hear you say it's just fucking empty out there. I mean, I just think, wow, if you were trying to get lost, that's a good place to get lost. Huh?
Yeah. Good place to get lost. Yep.
But
when I saw it, I did the full on like.
yeah,
DiCaprio.
Yeah, because I thought somebody had posted the video as a joke because it might just be a doppelganger. Because he had like this 4-day beard that was glorious, but I thought maybe it was somebody else. And then as soon as you started speaking, I was like, "Oh shit, that's Eric." Okay, that's actually
the Schlim
Eric.
Dog right there.
That's the Schlimmer voice.
Yeah, Schlim Dog millionaire.
oh, and Gerbio. We got 2 in one show. That's great.
Great.
Slim Dog millionaire. Oh my god. What do you guys think about the aliens and alien.gov website things?
I would love some clarity on it.
Dude, I thought it was just like because you know how they've been with immigration. I was like, there's no way. Then that lady telling this publication, stay tuned, and then an alien emoji. I was like, what? I don't know.
For people who if you're playing the home game, the federal government basically reserved the alien.gov and aliens.gov URLs. And if you look it up, you do a whois lookup, you can see it's all redacted. Then it's official. That happened on Wednesday or Tuesday this week. It was the 7th. I think it's the 17th. They registered those domains. And when asked about this, one of the representatives in charge of White House communications said, stay tuned, and then tweeted this alien head emoji. And I looked at there was an interview that went up a couple of weeks ago with David Grush on Fox News, and he is talking about Donald Trump, and he's like, this guy has everything he needs to pull the trigger on disclosure if he wants to do it. He's as up to speed as anybody's going to be.
Who said that?
David Grush.
Wow.
On Fox.
Yep, that's right.
Oh,
He's like, he said the words. He was like, he would go down in history instantly as one of the most significant figures in human history. It would be a one-time deal, and no one else would ever be able to do it. It would be him, and he knows that. But he said it in a much better way than I'm saying it. He fleshed that out a little bit more.
Can I weigh in ever so slightly on this? And perhaps it's coming from a point of sheer optimism because I just want this to happen so badly. But the choice of URL, I think, is actually really important, because if they were going to release all the UAP files and they would take UAP.gov, do you not think? Because unless they're going to share something about aliens, then there's no reason to have alien.gov. If they're going to show us a nothing burger of we just don't know what it is. It's unidentified aerial phenomenon. They would take UAP.gov or UFOs.gov if they wanted to keep it like really easy to remember. But the fact that they're taking alien and aliens.gov, if the White House spokeswoman Anna Kelly, if she's not just taking someone for a ride, and this really is to do with the phenomenon, I find the choice of URL really strange and quite telling, personally, because they can't mislead people. They have to. I know they can be sort of dramatic, and Trump loves to be dramatic, but there's no reason to buy the aliens.gov domain. It would be UAP. It would be UAP.
I suspect the deal's going to be they're just going to say Roswell was real. I think they'll just start with Roswell, but I don't know if you can do that. This is the thing. It's like I think they might set off a chain reaction. They will. If you say anything, you say everything. Yes. You open the conversation to everything, and that's a big fucking conversation.
Yeah, if you admit to one 80-year lie, then what else is a lie? Is JFK? So much stuff. That means every UFO thing is basically a lie, right?
It calls everything they've ever said into question, and it basically puts all options back on the table.
Right.
But it's also not the first time that's happened. and they still carry on doing what they do all the time. We've had proper revelations from Edward Snowden come out, and there was a huge cover-up about the Americans being spied on by their own government, and they're still doing it now. like there's nothing ever changed. Like, they just said, eventually they were like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have done that. We won't do it anymore.
Oh, dude.
And I think that's probably what this will be. Like, they can tell us whatever the hell they want to just shut us up for a while. They could say, like, yeah, Roswell happened, and yeah, we had some recovered craft. We don't know anything else. That's it. That they could say that. They would be lying, but they could say that, and that would just carry on the fight. We would just carry on saying, no, you're not being truthful. But it would certainly be some sort of step forward in some respect. But yeah, I don't doubt that they would just say exactly whatever the hell they want to say. They always have.
That would be like you'd get. God, that's so sad. That would be like getting disclosure, but not.
We had. I'm not a Trump basher personally, but when he was running for president, he was bad mouthing Biden about he's going to drag us into a war with Iran. Like, I'd be the president of peace. Now look at what's going on. Like, these guys will say whatever the hell they want to advance their own agendas.
Wall Street Journal today, $188 a barrel by April, according to the Saudis. $188 a barrel is going to fucking stop the world. People won't understand. They're not going to know what that's like until we're there.
That's the kind of price where people are not going to be able to afford to go to work. Like, you can't commute.
They're saying work from home.
You want it doom, right? So
my point being in bringing that up is to your point, Xander, is that if you wanted to take the heat off of that conversation, it's a game of like fucking hot potato right now. It's like, don't look at Epstein, but now we're at war with Iran. No one wants to talk about that either. Okay, well, let's talk about aliens. What can we do here to just get the fucking heat off until after the midterm elections? I think that's really a big part of the calculus here.
I still hate so much. Okay, Clint.
No, I'm just thinking, like, he's probably looking at it like, I say Roswell is real, I go down in history. I don't give up any goods on the fucking classified shit we've got since Roswell. We're not saying anything. Most people think Roswell was real anyway. So what are you really telling people? You know, you show some pictures of aliens, everybody freaks out. And yeah, people are going to ask questions, but you don't have to answer them. You could just say that's classified. I think, yeah, that's a good point. Xander, you're not wrong.
I think as well, like, I'm rarely going to admit that I'm wrong, but I think I was wrong about something very specific whereby I thought that if anybody knew about the UAP topic on any sort of, let's say, a presidential level where they're given the talk, but they're not shown, the goods, but they're told some basic facts. I was always under the assumption that would be enough to really kickstart the thought process of, this is the most important piece of information in the world. But I actually, having thought about it a little more, what would happen if tomorrow they actually announced that aliens are real without providing any real context? People haven't spent years thinking about the implications like we have. To us, it's the most important question ever asked. But I think most people would go, cool.
Yeah.
And then they'd be like, going back on Instagram to scroll. Like, I just
go back to paying $8 a gallon for gas.
Yeah.
Going, what the fuck?
They won't ask what does it mean. They won't ask what it means in terms of energy supply. They won't ask what it means in terms of our place in the universe. They will say, cool, are we going to be attacked or not? If not, then cool. Like, just carry on as usual. I'm just going to say goodnight to my daughter.
Yeah, I have a cousin. I have a cousin who's a police officer in Boston, and he's
you would.
Yeah, I would. He's a Navy veteran. He's a super interesting, super inquisitive, brilliant guy. He studies, he reads books, he is interested in the world. And we've talked about the alien stuff. He's like, I don't care. I was like, how do you don't find it even remotely interesting? He goes, no. And I was like, why? He goes, I believe it exists, but like, who cares? And I just found that astounding. So there's millions of people like that who like just don't care.
Well, it's like, I believe Uruguay exists, but I've never been there. And I'm, you know, as far as the outcome of that situation, I have no real skin in the game, so I can't really say. You know, I guess aliens to some extent are much farther away than that, and you know, one could easily argue, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, and it might not matter in the short term at all. I mean, maybe this is, unless some big event happens, it doesn't change anybody's short term. The thing staring everybody in the face right now is the price of oil and artificial intelligence taking everybody's jobs. That is a 36-month problem. That is the next 36 months of your life is going to be like defined by what happens in that space. If the president comes out tomorrow and says aliens are real, I think the press would drop everything for a week, but then they would have to eventually go back to, you know, well, oil prices or whatever. And also, by the way, Iran has hypersonic missiles. Like, this is something no one's talking about.
And they haven't used them yet.
They have them, and we're about to send a Marine expeditionary unit into the Strait of Hormuz to start taking islands. You haven't seen shit yet. Wait until you see a hypersonic missile take out an American warship. That's going to change the price of oil in a huge fucking way. And this whole thing, by the way, I don't want to turn it into a political thing, but as somebody who's already lived through like the first Gulf War, the second Gulf War, the war in Afghanistan, which was the longest war in American history, by the way, and the most expensive by a lot. And Dan, I saw your post the other day about the people you saw out in LA where you were walking around. You were talking about.
Yeah, it was yesterday. Made me
dude,
so
it's
sad.
like we're about to spend an unlimited amount of money we don't have on a war that we don't need for reasons that make no sense to anyone in the regular world. And all the time they're telling us, you know, we can't have nice things here at home, and we've got to cut here and cut there, and can't give school lunches to poor kids, and we can't take care of old people, and we don't have any money to pay for college education for kids. And and AI's coming, but no one's even talking about that. We're not really thinking about it. We've got to really focus on this war. And so, you know, to the point of how this all ties back to UFOs, I think the task of explaining to people why it matters falls to people like us. That's
the thing.
The business that we are in.
Just to finish what I was, just one final thing I wanted to add was, for the longest time I was always under the impression this news is so big it couldn't possibly be useful as a political tool. But having thought about it, people will they'll find it interesting enough to be a distraction, but it won't change their lives. It won't change their whole paradigm of thinking in the way that it would change it for us. So it absolutely could and probably will be used as a political tool in some way.
Sure.
It could even be used as a justification for further violence, which would be the worst kind of disclosure that we could possibly get, because it should mean the exact opposite of that. It should be the moment, everybody's dreamed of the moment humanity comes together and realizes we're not alone. But I fear it's going to be the complete opposite, where it's just every man for themselves at this point.
By the way, I also saw a comment there, somebody who said that the God question is going to come in hot as well. And I think so too, because it's going to challenge everything, whatever happens, you know.
What do you mean? So go into that a little bit more.
Well, if any of this is confirmed or announced in any way, I think that all religions that exist today are going to be challenged, because there's going to be a change in orientation and philosophy worldwide if this is announced, and people are going to start just wondering, so what if none of that is true, or it's just misinterpreted? And that's also coming. It's part of the singularity. I think you froze, Clint.
Me? Oh, hold
Yeah.
on. How did I freeze? Hold on a second.
Oh,
There you are. You're back.
Oh, that's weird. I was just opened another window. Burleson was asked about this. You've got this link you said.
Froze again.
Frozen again.
Oh, fuck. Is it? Am I really? Okay. Could you hear me?
Yeah.
Now you're back.
I got this Burleson clip. You guys want to take a look at this real quick?
Mhm.
He's asked about this alien.gov. Do you have it, Xander, or do you want me to show it? I got it here.
I got it.
It's from a few hours, actually.
This is
From a
pretty fresh.
couple hours ago. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Let's see.
Ask a poll.
What's up with this aliens.gov?
I have no idea. I thought it was an interesting pick. Is it? Have you looked into it? Is it true that the White House purchased that?
Burleson
It
looks like he's lost a bit of weight.
White House
He's looking slim.
people are saying.
He's a little concerned.
I don't know firsthand, but I have no idea. It could have something to do with illegal aliens. It could be them like trolling us.
Yeah.
That's UAP.
There you go.
You know.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
The topic.
Are t-shirts coming next?
Right. I don't know, Matt. I really.
Is that Laszlo?
So what's
Matt
up with this
Laszlo
Alien.gov?
doing God's
Shout
work
out.
out there.
Hey, let's get the
Shout
Laz
out.
on here, by the way.
The Laz.
I'll get him in.
Great,
He'll say
please.
yes.
Hit him up.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Burleson's in the dark.
I like Burleson.
I do too.
Yeah, big fan.
He is looking slim. You're looking good, Eric. Whatever you're doing, keep it up.
It's called anxiety and fear.
Anxiety. It's the anxiety and fear. I thought he was doing a kettlebell thing. Anxiety and fear. It's a lot of that. What did you guys think of Matt Brown's Weaponized interview? Has anybody made it through the whole thing yet? I have not.
Yeah.
I'm about an hour in.
Yeah.
I have. I already saw it twice actually because I needed to do something.
You've done a
Way to rub it
rewatch.
in, man. This is Pavel is always flexing on how much time he
I don't
has.
have kids, bro. I don't have kids.
I watched
Like,
it before it was cool to watch.
That's the answer. I don't have kids.
I know that's the answer. I'm jealous. It's I love my kid, but man, you
It's
got
a heavy
no, no.
episode, man. It's
Yeah.
a
No
it's a
offense.
heavy fucking episode, and
It is.
It's powerful, and they say a lot. They out some people and out some scenarios, and we're finally kind of seeing the depths of how far the U.S. government will go to slander people and try to ruin people by planting little seeds of deception and lies amongst their friend groups, and it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the biggest? Was there one particular moment or anything he said specifically that really jumped out at you about anything?
Yeah. I mean, what I was talking about is when, so he was interviewed by ODNI, and then afterwards, someone from ODNI went to Jeremy Corbell and apparently spoke about what Matt talked about, which is highly immoral and probably illegal to talk about what someone
in
said
a
in
gossipy way, which is fucked.
And he said that, Matt Brown is an anti-Semitic Jew hater. Like that's what Jeremy was told, that
and a racist
and a Jew hater.
Yeah.
He also was told that Matt Brown owned up to making up Immaculate Constellation.
Yeah, once he was presented with the fact that, like, we can, what was it, look it up, like search histories and stuff, or see, basically what was it, Pavel? You saw it twice or three times.
What do you mean?
When they said that Matt got squirmy when they confronted him with the fact that they could track like his search history or something to show that he made it up. There's something like that.
Yeah. But Corbell said that was one of the three lies that he was.
That's what I mean.
told,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. That was one, and the other one about the accusations of being a Jew hater, and that's
and those are their words, a Jew hater, anti-Semite, racist.
Well, that sounds like exactly what you'd want to do to make this guy basically unhireable, shut the fuck up and disappear. You would go out and start telling people the craziest things. He's not. I mean, this guy, he's literally, if you watch any amount of either interview he's done on Weaponized, if you don't know who Matthew Brown is, he is the person who exposed the Immaculate Constellation program. And Immaculate Constellation is a ongoing, well, did he say it's an operation or a program? How did he define? He
said it was an operation, he said, didn't he?
I think Immaculate Constellation is a AI program that scours all of our intelligence apparatus databases and extracts all data that is flagged as possibly being UAP data, and then somehow siphons it together into one database so that a person with the right amount of access basically has a dashboard heads-up display with real-time fucking data on anything they want. I guess this is what it sounds like to me. That was the program, or the thing that he is known for. And then in this interview, he really went into some detail about the links they go to discredit him, and how they have people working at military bases on military computers during work hours, actively sabotaging whistleblowers online in chats and in Reddit forums and anywhere. That was pretty. It's pretty dark.
That's dirty
Yeah,
stuff.
there was a moment when, and obviously I did a video about this, when Lou was mentioned by Matt as responsible for ousting Immaculate Constellations. And then this guy, UAP James from X, who does a lot of great clips, he made a really cool like mix of those statements and then something that Gerb said on Jesse Michaels' interview, the most recent one, about Tom DeLonge being exposed to Immaculate Constellation. And I think this is just like a theory, but it makes a lot of sense because things fit, I think.
Let's hear it.
Maybe my face is on a PowerPoint briefing as the next person to expose Immaculate Constellation, although apparently that honor goes to Mr. Lou Elizondo. Thank you, Lou, for exposing Immaculate Constellation. The briefing itself listed him through his exposure of ATIP OSAP as responsible for exposing Immaculate Constellation. Whilst he was at TTSA, Lou Elizondo was liaison to the NRO. He was liaison to the NRO.
Whoa, I don't think a lot of people know that.
No, that's not public knowledge.
One of my advisors was from the National Reconnaissance Office, high up.
I think a strong argument can be made. Tom DeLonge was exposed to elements of Immaculate Constellation.
They call it episodic visits. That's all I know.
Episodic, meaning like they have time periods where they like.
If you listen closely to that Joe Rogan interview, Tom DeLonge talks about episodic visits of craft.
The Department of Defense figured out, a physicist there, an algorithm of how to compute when the things fly in and collect smaller ships, like motherships, small ships, at what longitude and latitude, and what essentially what orbit it would land at when it would collect these other machines.
This is wild.
And so they tested that, and all I know is it was successful.
And if you look at the Immaculate Constellation documents, numerous sightings talk about how the sensor collection platform seemingly had foreknowledge of the event, almost like the system was put in place to collect data on the appearance of the UFO or ARV, but the system knew it was going to be there. It had foreknowledge. It could track the erratically moving Tic Tac or the saucer. So I think there's a connection there with those episodic visits and the foreknowledge of craft sighting in the Immaculate Constellation documents. The timelines add up too. I think that's something that worthy to be explored. If you ask Luis Elizondo if he was read into Immaculate Constellation, of course it's a USAP, so he'll have to deny that. But I think there's some interesting questions there that could be explored.
Gerbio, what a hero!
That's some good info.
That tracks with what Eamon Ansbro has been saying. He says that there is an automated system where these ships deploy smaller ships that go out and do missions, and then they return and they run on it's a predictable system, and they are able to basically tell when and where they're going to appear. He said this. That's interesting. I had not heard Tom DeLonge say that. This is corroborating something that Eamon's been working on for 30 years. An automated surveillance system, which also kind of aligns with what Beatrice and her team VRL has said about pre-Sputnik orbital objects that were artificial in origin and sighted in all these astronomical places. Fuck.
And it also
I just got like
with,
that just expanded my
and it also lines up with Patrick Jackson's sphere network theory as well.
Fuck, you're right.
Cosmic Internet.
I was just talking about the Sphere Network. Cosmic Internet. Wednesday. Where's that? I've got his book. Cosmic Internet.
Oh, shit. That's
right. It's back there.
And there's a specific example of supposed foreknowledge in the Immaculate Constellation document where I think it was a Russian ship, like way out in the middle of the ocean, and a black triangle materialized, and they think it knew it was going to materialize there because why else would you be there? And they used the term foreknowledge, F-O-R-E.
And that's a video that Matt saw himself.
Also, it's worth mentioning that in Ingo Swann's book Penetration, he describes a scenario, an experience he had where he was basically with a intelligence person who was his, I guess, handler, you would say, who went by the name Axelrod. And Axelrod had these two bodyguards, assistants, two guys that would basically go everywhere with him. And he called them, Ingo called them the twins. Yep. They looked identical. He said they were basically perfect physical specimens. They looked, like 6'3" Fabio people, like they're like Nords, maybe, I don't know, but he's like, these looked peak human, I guess you could think, right? Yeah. Axelrod tells him, we're gonna go see something. I want to show you something. They get into they fly in a plane way up somewhere out in the boonies up north. This is the way he writes about it in the book. They land this little tiny airstrip out in the woods. Little airstrip. There's no one there. They're just this little small Cessna plane. Him and these other 3 guys. So 4 guys total. Then they hike out way into the bush, and they get way out, and they find a lake. And at about 3:00 in the morning, they're out here out in the woods. They get to this lake, and they're laying on the ground. Ingo Swann, the famous remote viewer, founder of the modern, remote viewing techniques that we know of today, and Axelrod, his handler, and these other 2 enforcer guys, whatever you want to call them, the twins. And Axelrod says, you're going to see something. It's going to happen in a few minutes. Just keep your eyes open and pay attention. Whatever you do, don't get up, don't move. And sure enough, a craft appears, materializes over the water, and then starts taking water up into the craft. It starts pulling water up into the craft, and it scans the area with a laser, and it literally zigzags the entire area where they are and is scanning them to try and locate these guys, and then it takes off and disappears. But the point is of the story, they knew it was going to be there. And this book was written about stuff that was happening in the late 1970s, early 1980s. So to locate that on the timeline, it's possible they have known about some of this stuff being predictable for that long. But now with Tom saying this, that data point lines up with these other data points. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And that's
I got another one. Bob Grenier, who is son of a 33rd degree Mason, talks about a story where he's a kid and his father shows him for the first time where a UFO was going to appear. And he just tells him to look at a certain place in the sky, and he sees a UFO just materialize. And this happened to him when he was younger. And so his father also had that foreknowledge of that was going to happen.
That's really weird.
What is that?
I don't know.
You think they're going to talk about that on aliens.gov? Not a chance. Not a chance.
No.
Hey, can somebody explain something to me? This Lou Elizondo exposing Immaculate Constellation. I didn't understand this. Can someone articulate what that means?
Yeah, I think it's because Tom DeLonge mentioned this system, and he mentioned that he had an NRO contact, and that at around those dates is when I heard that the name changed of the program, and it was in October 2017. So I think what happened, this is just like a little bit of speculation, I'm not completely sure, that when Tom mentioned that on Rogan, the biggest podcast in the world, he was talking about Lou Elizondo, and that's when they flagged Lou's name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Excuse me. He talked about another thing too that I want to learn more about, because I've heard this now, and we've talked about it a couple times in the group. This program called Sentient.
Mm-hmm.
Sentient. He referred to it at least once in the first part of the interview. I don't know if he gets to it later, but he said something about this. Sentient is a classified AI system developed by the U.S. National Reconnaissance Office to manage and analyze data from spy satellites. It ingests huge amounts of multi-source intelligence data, imagery, signals, etc., automatically detects anomalies by learning what the normal patterns of that data should be, predicts potential threats or adversary actions, and it autonomously tasks and redirects satellites to focus on high interest areas called tipping and queuing. The aim is to speed up intelligence collection, reduce human workload, and make satellite ops more proactive and efficient. Development began around 2010 with key milestones by 2013. It was publicly revealed in 2019 via declassified docs and reporting. The Verge called it an artificial brain. Much remains secret, but recent NRO statements as of 2025 describe shifting toward AI-driven satellite constellations that handle plain language queries and autonomous coordination capabilities that align closely with Sentient's original goals. Huh.
I remember when Dan told us for the first time about synthetic sentience. Remember, Dan? That was pretty wild.
Yeah.
So it's like the command software that gives like the top tier people, you can just give voice commands like on the bridge of the Enterprise, and your fucking system will just, your whole intelligence apparatus will respond.
So some
in real
some
time.
of you guys know about a project I'm working on and someone I'm trying to get a hold of for, we've talked about it privately, but that ties into, I have a NASA document from 1992, which is public, and I'll share it at some point, but it's about this thing it's a system called Auto Class 4, which started in the late 80s. And what it was an artificial intelligence program that NASA developed to sort through footage and data that was collected in space or from certain space programs, to automatically put it in certain files to make sure it went to the right people first. This is, again, 1992. The paper was published, which means this is probably going on late 80s, early 90s. But to me, when you read all about it, it sounds like exactly like an early version of Immaculate Constellation. And it's called Auto Class 4. I couldn't believe when I found it how close it was to what we're talking about now.
Is that like auto classification system?
It was an algorithm based program that would sequester information when it arrived in this database. It would basically look at the information, and this is before like hashtags, like it would have to like look at the it was artificial intelligence in the way that it would be able to look at the actual substance of the information and then basically classify it, send it to where it needs to go.
I mean,
and that was in the 80s, right?
Yeah, late 80s.
I mean,
so this is not a new thing, and just imagine if we're doing it back then, how good it is now.
Yeah, probably really, really, really good. I guess the thing I'm trying to figure out is he describes in this interview the status of current knowledge, I guess, about what's going on, at least at the level he was exposed to. And he said that point of origin was something that was still being discussed. Like that was an unsettled matter with the people who he called the graybeards that he's spoken with. And he said that that's something that's hotly debated among them. Where are these things coming from? Because I think George asked about interdimensionals or whatever, and he said they don't know really. And that's interesting.
When Grush talks about graybeards, though, it's not just put off in Ballet and all these people. There's a lot of people that we don't know about. There are also graybeards that also have spoken to Grush and everybody else about this, and that's why he said that too. It's not just the guys that we already know.
Others, yeah. Well, I looked at recently. I was looking at this Robert Dean presentation that he did, and he's talking about this NATO report called the Assessment, or an assessment, that was released in 1961. And he was part of the officer group that was allowed access to this. They only made like 10 copies of this report. It wasn't, it was like the heads of each country got one, and that was about it. And he saw one, and he said that report, which was, the end result of a process that had started, I think, a decade earlier, or at least that much. He said they had determined that there were 4 distinct alien races that we were encountering on a regular basis at that time. And and according to his account, that we had much more detailed information about what those were and what they looked like. They went into some detail about describing them. But he said specifically that there was one that looks just like us. And that's the part that gets really weird. And I just, somebody said earlier, Dan, I think it was you. You mentioned,
Clint.
something.
Who's that?
Manual
we have a guest.
We have a special guest.
Oh,
hello.
Oh, sorry about that. I was just doing some homework.
Didn't see you there. What's up, man?
Ramsey.
How you guys doing?
Chris Ramsey.
Hey.
Good.
What's up, bro?
Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. I was just listening to your podcast, and then I got the invite from Xander there on the in the old Discord. So I thought I'd pop in, but keep going, keep conversing. It's very interesting.
Oh, we were just kind of spitballing about Matt Brown's interview and some of the things that he had said, just kind of extrapolating from there on what I guess I'm really murky on what the level of knowledge is. And I think that's a real area of interest for me, is like, how high does our knowingness actually go? What can we say? What can someone say with certainty about, all of this stuff and like races? How many different races are we dealing with? Is it 4? Is it 12?
Is it 69? That's what isn't that what Greer said?
He would.
Of course he did.
It's a nice little wink from the universe, I think.
And they're all men. Never mind.
They speak 420 languages.
420.
Cool numbers.
I'd be surprised if anybody really knows. As Grush said, Darth Vader was the last guy that really controlled everything.
Well,
since then it's been
great. Okay, Darth Vader, Dick Cheney, who we're talking about, is in. I am no fan of Dick Cheney, but I will say this: that was probably one of the most shrewd politicians, political maneuverers, operators, business people, CEOs. Like, that motherfucker ran the show. He was the boss. And during the time he was there, like, not only did he destroy Iraq, he also went in and fucking rebuilt the thing and made a fortune doing it. Like, this guy, if you were going, his company Halliburton went in and they are the ones that rebuilt all the water treatment plants and all of the infrastructure for Iraq after we destroyed it. Interesting how that works. How convenient. But my point isn't that. It's political, differences notwithstanding, the man would be ideal if you were looking for the ultimate badass to run your UFO program, and you knew that the Chinese and the Russians were going to be ultra shrewd and determined to beat you. You would want somebody like that to know.
Yeah, it's probably a percentage of his evil linked to his name being Dick.
He shot his own friend.
They
were hunting together.
You can't shoot your own friend if you're not a dick.
Yeah, true. I challenge you to do it and not be a dick.
But I was under the impression Dick is just a nickname and his real name is Penis.
Penis Cheney the Third.
By the way, if you have, for anyone who's interested in this, is only because it was such a good movie. The movie with Christian Bale played him in was it just called Dick, or what was it, Cheney, or what was the name of that movie?
Cheney, right?
I think it's Vice.
Oh my God. One of the best performances I've ever seen. I mean, he becomes Dick Cheney. I watched this guy on the news every day for 8 years. Like, this guy, he really did become that character in a way that just blew my mind.
The documentary was pretty good. There's a documentary about him from a few years back that was pretty fascinating.
What did you learn from it? What did it?
I mean, just like how focused he was on being that guy, of climbing the ranks. I think early on in his life, he knew what he wanted to be, and he became it. Darth Vader,
he wanted to be. There was a biography published that I read many years ago, and one of the things that really caught my attention is how intensely he wanted to be at the center of. He wanted to be the hub of all information. He wanted everything to flow through him first, so that by the time George Bush, if you go to President Bush and George Bush makes a decision, but Dick Cheney gives him the options. You have option A, B, or C, and all three of them are fine with Dick. It's like, and George Bush gets to be the decider, but that's really how it worked. And he was just he had his fingers in all of the pies, and he just kind of knew, which is interesting, because if that's true, then his daughter must know something, and she's around. People could talk to her.
Has anyone put a mic in front of her yet and asked her about her father's ties to the UFO topic?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I haven't seen anything yet.
I doubt she would say anything, but who knows? Who knows? I know she's no fan of the current administration. I think another thing that was weird, just while we're on the topic of presidential politics and that executive branch whole thing, Matt Brown talks about Immaculate Constellation being nestled comfortably within the executive branch, right? That was the branch that had oversight on that. Okay.
Yep.
That doesn't align with the other thing we've heard many times, this other statement we hear from people, that not all presidents are aware of the full scope of the situation. Some presidents are, some presidents aren't. So then what elements, when one administration leaves and a new administration from the opposing party comes in, do they transfer ownership of that program to the new staff? Or that doesn't make sense. You wouldn't just...
I think a great deal of that, and I've seen this develop over the last 2 years that I've been doing this. There's a lot of like children of people who were legacy, who are like very much involved in like these topics. I'm not gonna say the program because I have no confirmation of that, but this is something that I've seen as like a trend that it's
like a nepo
so they keep it in the family. That's what I've heard.
That's smart
all the time.
It's a smart way to keep it quiet is to
I mean, the Trumps have been around forever.
That's true.
And they do have that time machine too.
But like, Trump's grandfather, wasn't he, the guy that like shut down Tesla and whatnot? Like, I mean,
when Tesla died, he was the first one who arrived at the place where he had all his work, John G. Trump.
And what did he say he found there?
That's why I say they have the time machine. He said he didn't find anything like
sorry guys
value. Yeah.
It
turns out
doesn't
it's
make any
nothing.
sense to me.
Yeah, she's like,
toss it all in the van. I'll get
Turns
rid
out
of
it's
it.
nothing.
I thought Tesla would have some cool stuff, but I guess he had nothing here.
We all thought we'd find something. Turns
Just
out
a
it's
bunch of
nothing,
pictures
guys.
of dicks. He draws a
Yeah,
lot of. I don't know what this is.
It turns out Tesla is super uninteresting. It's crazy.
Yeah. All of it is just rubbish. Weird.
So what happened to Trump's, was it grandfather? What happened to him after that? Where did he go? Do we know what his career?
Yeah, I'll pull it up for you because he was like an MIT something really badass in terms of technology.
Was that his grandfather? Or was that like
his uncle? Great, his uncle, John G. Trump.
I love
this was so weird. I didn't believe this at first, and now I'm just like, I can't believe this is real.
But I mean, you look at, and this is like great. You go into like deeper conspiracy territory, but David Icke, he was talking about this sort of bloodline, especially within royalty, politics, and even famedom, being a requisite for being in the know. Like it would have to be passed down in this way. And then I think in his book, The Biggest Secret, he talks about at the time, within the 40 first presidents, 33 of them were related to two people. I think it was like King Henry and like Charlemagne or something. Like they all had like direct, And that came out later on. There was even like some girl. I think she did like
a little girl.
project.
Yeah.
Do you remember this? And she like tied together every single president to like two people.
Yeah.
And
That's crazy.
So there, so there might be more to, that Nepo sort of handle on the UFO stuff than meets the eye.
Well, that's something too. We're talking about Matt Brown. Matt Brown in the first interview, he was saying just, the world that we live in is a lie. It's a complete lie. And if this kind of stuff is true, where all these connections are made with presidents, maybe it is some kind of fabricated reality that we're living in.
Oh, totally.
We think we have choice. We think that voting matters, but really it's like what Cheney did. Give George Bush 3 options, but they're his 3 options. So you're going to choose something I like no matter what. Maybe that's how politics work.
Politics is definitely like that. You're like, party A, well, we don't like them. We're going to go party B, and then you don't have a party C, essentially. And
Right.
So in 2012, it was 42 out of 43 US presidents are distant cousins.
Yeah, right.
Sharing a common ancestor in King John of England.
That's right, King John.
And it was Martin Van Buren that was the only exception. Most presidents share British or Irish ancestry.
So let me ask,
Wasn't it?
Do most Americans have ties to these people? Because that's another thing to look at.
Yeah,
do
the whole
most
6
people
degrees
have
of
connections?
separation kind of thing.
I'd be curious about that.
We're all tied to Kevin Bacon somehow. So he must be
related to Trump. I'll just type that in quickly.
1 degree. I met him once, so I'm 1 degree from Kevin.
Me
Bacon.
too. You met him?
Nice. Hell yeah.
The Bacon.
I also feel like there's a good portion of his success that's attributed to his last name being Bacon.
True. Maybe.
Just sounds nice when you hear it. Yeah. You're like, oh, that's.
I might
good.
change my name to Dan Cheeseburger and see how my career takes off.
Don't talk about food. I'm hungry already.
See, it's working already.
There you go.
Oh man,
Chris, what did you think of Matt's second interview?
That was interesting. Obviously, I think I shared a lot of the same sentiments. A lot of people when they're like, "Let him talk," you're watching that, and you're like, just like, I want to hear Matt. I want to hear more. I think a lot was left on the table. But I also think that was probably done by design. George and Jeremy, they're smart guys too. They've done this for a while. They've probably had so many candid conversations with Matt that they knew where to tread the line, where to walk that, toe the line, so to speak. But I definitely have more questions now than I did before. I also think it feels like Matt knows a lot more, than he let on initially. And so again, is that something, I suppose it's something that Jeremy and George were aware of. But when he came forward at first, I was under the impression, I don't know if you guys had the same feeling that, he just read something in passing and that was all he knew. And now it feels like there's like so much more that he knows. And I thought just that revelation itself to me felt really important to be like, there's a lot more. Either there's a lot more that this guy's leaving on the table, or some alternative explanation. You can go ahead and fill in those gaps. But I do think the former is possible. It sounds like his level of conviction about these things is very high.
Well, the Immaculate Constellation document took 2 years to write, didn't it? He was investigating for 2 years, so he's probably seen some. He was for those 2 years. He was in those servers, wasn't he? That where everyone was sort of sharing the all of this classified stuff that wasn't like properly sorted.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I think the stuff in the Immaculate Constellation document is probably just the tip of the iceberg. Realistically,
I will say that I did have a guest on my podcast. I can't say who. I can say this guest worked with an intelligence agency publicly for a long time. And on the podcast, we talked about a certain, operation, and that had to be cut out. It was like a 20 thing that I had to cut out. And that was the only time I've ever had to cut out anything out of my podcast ever. But kind of he kicked it up and they were like, that's a no-go. And
did you have to take the episode through DOPSA?
No. I was asked, hey, I'll get in a lot of trouble apparently. So I was like, oh, okay.
Is this interview already up?
Yeah.
Oh. Happy hunting, people. Happy hunting.
I mean, the clues are all there for you. But
real quick, Chris, Dana Scully wants to know where does she get an Invisible College sweatshirt?
That's a $10 question. That's insane.
$10 question. That's why it's on the street.
We could have asked for free, but Jesus.
We would have asked for free.
Okay, well, when they're on sale, hit me up. I'll get you $10 off.
That's
there you
cool.
go, Dana.
Sometime next month.
Nice.
All right.
You said that after watching the episode, you had more questions. What's one of the questions you have now?
One of the questions I think would pertain to, obviously, he didn't address any of his cryptic tweets.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that would be the first question I would ask. Like, were we just going to go past all of this?
We just talk about the God is real. He's had
a handful of puzzling tweets.
Yeah. And Jeremy as well. Jeremy's like the Riddler, He's always got some, angle and he'll throw some some quote he just made up that actually like, you know, kind of fogs your head up a little bit all the time. And that's just like who he is. When you know him, you're like, you're constantly like deciphering. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I feel like him and Matt together is just like, I'm just sitting here like as the puzzle guy taking notes and being like, you know, this is crazy. So I'd like to get a straight answer out of any of those guys, to be honest.
It's funny you mentioned that. So I was the day of that taping, I was with those guys afterwards, and watching Matt and Jeremy speak is a fascinating thing to do because of what you just said. There's mystery behind everything that's kind of being talked about sometimes. And I'm just kind of like, what?
Yeah,
What's happening?
It's like a Nancy Drew novel, or it's like a, you know, you're like Scooby-Doo and the gang trying to figure it out. But exactly. But I gotta say, as a guy who likes mystery puzzles, you know, I'm about it. Let's go. Give me the riddles.
I was there when Corbell and most of us were there when Corbell and Gerb met for the first time. And it was the same thing. They were talking across. I was sat between them and they were talking at each other. And Corbell had taken like an hour to start eating his tuna salad. But they were talking to each other. I was just like, okay, the language changed about half an hour ago, and there's a lot of code. Gerb loves his code words, but these are just like not even accurate.
But also, hits you with like a blood is thicker than wine, but wine is, you know, doesn't flow through the sand. And you're like, wait, what? And you're like,
absolutely. We'll talk later.
And you're trying to like figure it out. Like, but sometimes you're like, oh wait, I know what he means. And you know, because I think he's
ChatGPT. ChatGPT, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah.
Here's the thing too, is like, and this might rub people the wrong way, but I think when it comes to like Jeremy Corbell, I think that dumb people think he's dumb. I don't think he's dumb at all. I think he's been in and around this stuff for a very long time. And if you don't know how to listen to Jeremy, he'll drop some nuggets in there, and it'll sound cryptic and it'll sound puzzling. But then, like, fast forward, and you go, "Oh, that's what he was talking about." You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think a lot of people just like give him flack. But if you are like me and you're like a puzzle guy, you'll actually like find some good nuggets in there.
A good comparison.
Paying attention. Okay.
That's the thing about those guys. You have to you have to hit the ground at 55 miles an hour running to start. If you're going to sit down at the table and have a conversation with those guys, that's where they start. There is no ramp up. You've got to already know your shit and be ready to follow a really complex, deep conversation and read between the lines and there's all kinds of twists and turns.
Let's go.
At the end of the day, as well, they are pushing the conversations that they're having, even so far as when Matt Brown in his first interview was talking about where he first stumbled across. He saw this PowerPoint presentation, and then immediately everybody online was sort of saying, well, it was just a wargaming exercise. And we know, like, obviously that's not the only piece of information he looked at that related to Immaculate he spent 2 years there. You don't think he would have thought about this potentially being a war game exercise? It probably would have been he found multiple pieces of corroborating evidence, I have no doubt. And it's the same with things like the Hellfire missile. Like, I have no doubt that it wasn't just somebody shared in a signal chat. I'm sure there would be more corroborating evidence behind the scenes that is undoubtedly classified in some way, can't even be discussed. And then you get people saying, well, you just need to tell us and everything like that. And Matt Brown in the second interview was quite rightfully saying, like, I've lost my job. Like, you're fine on Reddit. You work in an office and your job's safe until AI takes over everything. But I've already paid the price, like, for doing what I've done, and I didn't even do 5% of what I could have done. Imagine if I had gone further, I probably wouldn't be sat here today. So I found the same thing when I went to Washington and finally met everybody. The gravity of the situation actually does hit you in a very real way when you're there in person, seeing the people's lips quiver, because there's real fear. We just spent the first half an hour of this tonight wondering whether a 5-star general or a major general was kidnapped or potentially killed. Like, this is a real thing. It is a real thing.
Yeah, and
it needs to be taken seriously.
The most recent interview, they asked, well, how have you been? How are you doing? And he said, my life's terrible and I cry every day.
Yeah,
that's what
he said he cries every morning.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Damn.
Yeah, it's not a good life.
No.
After you come forward, for anyone that I'm aware of, I know that Matt struggles, Dylan struggles, Jeff has struggled a bit. Lou seems to be doing fine. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I think that a lot of that stuff that he hasn't talked about yet, it's not being talked about because of the initiative that he put forward on that episode, and I think that a lot of the people that are asking and demanding for more like evidence on that and more information on that should come in an initiative like that, I would guess, because a lot of this stuff that is being like fought over, if you want to really like do something about somebody hurting you or harassing you, or you go through the legal system, you don't go to X or Twitter and announce it and just create more like chaos than necessary. You go directly to lawyers and you present the case and you present all the evidence there. And then when that's out in public, then people can start talking about it. But that's an investigation, an ongoing investigation. So that's the reason. And I'm glad that they did that announcement, because there's a lot of action needed in all of those types of situations, I think.
It is also kind of messed up, like what Matt was saying about, how that guy, or I assume is a guy, the redacted name was like, how he kind of has proof or something that he was actively part of like a sort of online smear campaign. I'd be curious to see in what capacity. Is it bots? Is it somebody we know? Is it a conglomerate of people? Is it, what I mean? It's that'd be interesting as well. And I don't personally like getting into that stuff because it has nothing to do with UFOs. But then it's like, we're out here, we're talking on the internet, and these people are interfering, so it's kind of whack. One thing I think is always like comes to my mind, and I don't want to be one to start a conspiracy, but all these, we have these debunkers, we have the skeptics, the regulars. You never see them go after Greer. Like ever. Like,
that's a good point.
And he says the wildest things. And so I always thought that was an interesting data point. Not saying there's anything there. Might be just, because
I've always thought that was an interesting data point too, and I'm glad you mentioned it, because I thought I was alone there.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting. I don't know what to make of that.
He's also
what would it be? What would that mean?
Well, to me, I'm just spitballing here. Stephen Greer has been very successful. He is also not attacked, as Chris pointed out, by the usual suspects who seem to be attacking everybody else in a really intense way. Those two data points are interesting to me. And he says the craziest shit, which is also an interesting data point. So if you bring all those things together, it's, some people, they want out there talking.
These are the top cities on Reddit. Number one, most addicted city, Eglin Air Force Base.
Yep.
Addicted. So weird.
That's very strange.
It's based on the amount of Reddit traffic coming in and out of that base. And this was immediately taken down as soon as that got posted. That's an archive, right?
Yeah, that's a web archive. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, you can't find the original. Oh yeah, you didn't know about that? So
it'd be funny if there was a stat like most non-humans visiting the place, and you're like, wait.
That's what. So when Matt brought that up about these guys being at these, military bases doing this stuff on company time, basically. Yeah, there's if you are watching this podcast, right, or any of our shows and any of our channels, you watch anything we do, or you do anything in the UFO space, you've probably run into guys that are paid to get out there and muck things up in one way or another. I think that's fair to say. Statistically.
Yeah. I mean, but also, on the Greer topic, it could also be that like he has a really, I would say, a really strong following. Like people who follow him are very like adamant. He's done a lot for, the topic, obviously. Goes without saying. I think everybody has to say that. You can't deny it. But there's a lot of people that really stand strong and are may or may not be like fanatical, right? And so I think if you're going after Greer as a debunker or a skeptic, you have to deal with the fallout. Yeah. So maybe that's just a deterrent for them. I don't know. I'm just speculating as well.
Greer people are pretty ride or die.
Right, exactly.
They are ride or die. Well, it's interesting with Greer because he exists in a parallel universe. There is everything that we talk about on this show. And then separate to that, completely in a separate lane, there's everything Stephen Greer is doing. And I don't know why none of these people cross over. There's really no overlap. And if they do, like Jake Barber or Michael Herrera, once they make the jump away from Greer, it doesn't seem like they go back. You don't see these people like around him anymore. They're gone. They move on and they do other things. That's interesting to me. But to your point, Chris, I was watching an old interview he did just yesterday with one of these Lockheed guys, retired Lockheed. He had all of these great interviews. Really, he was the first guy to do these long form, sit down, deep dives that we take for granted today. He was doing them back in like 2001.
Yeah, I mean those first, Disclosure Project sort of national press gatherings were like gold. I remember like being on the edge of my seat, for every single one of those. And if he does another one, I'll still be watching it with bated breath. Yeah. I'll 100%. That was just a weird data point. Talking about online interaction and counterintelligence and like all this stuff that goes on, this nefarious sort of activity that Matt Brown was talking about. And someone in the chat I was just reading, they asked about the St. Louis comment in
Go Cardinals.
Cardinals.
The Cardinals. Sorry, yeah. But I was going to say Cardinals. There's obviously the Disclosure Day. You got the little cardinal.
Aviary.
Aviaries. But then St. Louis is also home to the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Yeah. They would be the ones to collect. There it is. They would be the ones to collect the Immaculate Constellation data, wouldn't they?
Probably. Yeah, sure.
Let's ask Matt. Let's just ask him.
And that's in
He should just tell us.
So that was where my head went.
George actually, I thought, made a really interesting point. He said, well, he kind of postulated, he was like, if the Immaculate Constellation program is sorting through all of the data sets that are available and extracting out UAP related data or anything it flags as UAP possibly, then it is possible that when people say we looked in our records and we have no records of anything related to UAPs, he said that could be an honest answer because this program is designed to pull it out so they don't ever even deal with it. It's interesting. I thought that was a good point.
Yeah, definitely.
There was that Walter Kern interview, wasn't there, that talked about satellites and stuff recently. Pavel, you sent the link to this.
I told you about it, but the link is on UAP James's channel. He clipped it this morning. So
is Kern talking to Dr. Drew today?
He talked to him yesterday.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, they spoke mostly about the whole COVID thing, but they talked for like 5 or 6 minutes about UFOs and how confident he feels about what he's being told. And as a contrast, Eric Weinstein responded to one of his tweets and he said, "I'm being lied to about UFOs all the time," he said, which I found interesting, that contrast. But this guy talks to Grush directly, right? So
Dr.
Talking
Drew?
about
no,
that's Dr.
Walter.
Love lines?
Yeah.
This morning about interviewing somebody that informed you that they frequently see things coming and going just above the atmosphere. Can you tell me about that?
Well, I've spoken to all kinds of experts and whistleblowers and people who've been involved in the military and intelligence. And one of them who had a role in satellite intelligence told me one time off the cuff, "Oh yeah, we see them come and go all the time." And I was them? And he said, yeah, craft, objects coming into the outer atmosphere from space and leaving it again, particularly around times of war and back when during nuclear tests and rocket launches, especially now. When Elon Musk shoots a rocket off for SpaceX, it is alleged to me that there is interest from these objects. And that it can be picked up on instruments. Now, that sounds wild, but I'm not a journalist because I want to tell you things you already know. I'm a journalist because I want you to tell you things that you don't know yet. And I've tested these sources. I'm not a complete dummy, and I can't, of course, see the tapes of those events, but I can tell you that in the aggregate, I think there's something here.
Yeah.
No doubt.
That was good.
There's a clip of a SpaceX launch. Let me see if I can get this to show. Here you go. The one that exploded. Well, I don't know which. A bunch of them exploded, but also,
there we go.
Matt said he has an Elon connection.
Elon. We need to ask Elon more questions.
If there's music, you might want to turn it off.
Yeah. YouTube.
Turn it up.
Got the shit bumping, dude. Oh, hello, little guy.
Yeah.
That looked like an orb. Did it pass or a sphere? Did it pass in front?
Fast. You said orb. Pay Ryan Bledsoe $15.
Yeah, you've got to put a coin in the piggy bank.
Oh no.
Oh.
I don't give a shit. Ooh.
It's small.
I've heard that before.
It goes in front of the rocket, though. Look, there it is. So, I mean, if you could roughly estimate, well, there's a light. So it went between this rocket and this light fixture.
Kind of crazy
thing. And then it zips off. And then doesn't this rocket explode?
No, that's a different video, actually.
That's a different rocket.
This one is really interesting as well. It's
but it also doesn't look like a disc or an orb. Like it has like a limb hanging. Do you see that in the one frame?
Yeah. My first thought was bird, actually, on this one.
Yeah, like I mean that's what where my head goes to as well.
And not maybe because it's kind of bigger, it could be like a duck. I mean, a duck has a weirder shape.
But I don't see. I can't tell.
The first few frames, there's like a small like limb or something hanging from it.
Maybe
you go like
I know what Chris is saying. Can you full screen it?
Let's go full speed and see if it makes sense. No.
Does it go behind anything, or is that like a bug closer to the camera?
It does look like it goes between the rocket and that light tower.
Okay, so we've got a countdown clock, T minus 27 seconds on the bottom. So we have a time, and in real time, here it comes. That was less than a half second.
So fast.
Yeah, so it's either really fast, medium-sized object closer to the rocket, or a moderately fast object very close to the lens that's very small.
Yeah.
Right? Those are like your options.
It looks like it goes behind this tower and then in front of the rocket.
But that just could be like if it dropped a frame, right? Like I'm not trying to debunk this, but I'm also
we got to.
I just sent you guys the one that explodes. If you guys want to play it on the chat, that one is more interesting to me.
Do you guys remember the photo of the frog being projected out from one of the rocket launches? And there's like a famous picture of like a frog just like in the fire.
No.
But I'm very intrigued.
Yeah,
what?
It's a really great photo. That frog is probably like no idea what's happening. Could not even fathom that there's a rocket going into space.
The flavor text on this. Hang on.
Careful with the audio too.
Yeah. The flavor text: UFO destroyed.
Fuck yeah,
that's not clickbait at all.
2016. Okay.
It says UFO attack at the end.
God, this is already 10 years ago.
That's effective clickbait. I'm all in.
The red circle. There it is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like he's in her.
Yeah. I could buy that.
Maybe it's just this guy.
I could buy that this thing did something.
There
it goes
is.
by.
The frog.
Maybe it's just that guy.
This little guy right here.
What's going through his mind right there, you think?
Dude, everything.
He cannot comprehend the greatness that he is witnessing.
But if he survived, imagine the story he tells his friends. They're never going to believe
the story he tells to Miss Piggy.
Dude, that's what we tell people when we get abducted.
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
You don't understand. I don't even know what they were doing.
I've made this comparison before of like, imagine a fish that is out in the ocean that gets caught and brought onto a boat. And then like the hook is pulled out of its mouth. It's too small. And it sees mountains. It sees these people. Maybe it sees birds. And then it's thrown back into the ocean. And it has to go back to his friends and family and try to explain what just happened to it. I mean, it's like abductions for people, but how do you explain I was in a different environment? There were different creatures holding me and pulling stuff out of my mouth. I saw what we call mountains. It would be crazy to have a fish tell a story about being caught.
They got a 5-second memory for a reason.
It's true. They can't handle it.
Yeah. That's
that
crazy.
missile video is pretty neat.
Yeah, it looked like it did something to me. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea, no way to tell, but it looks like it goes right as soon as it goes by that thing. It's one frame away, and in the next frame, that rocket explodes. I'm sure they know what blew up the rocket, but it is interesting to hear. Who was that? Who we just saw on Love Lines?
Walter Kern.
Walter Kern say that they're interested when Elon sends something up. Well, it sounds like I'm more and more comfortable with the idea of an automated surveillance system that's dispatching spheres periodically to keep tabs on different things as we do whatever it is that we're doing down here. And it makes sense they would be interested in Elon. He's putting up like 1 million satellites in orbit. That's got to be,
an ancient system. Ancient
system.
Probably, yeah.
And
ancient, but like doesn't look ancient to us type deal.
Well, and then Xander talks about this idea. Sometimes you say that if Bob Lazar if we take Bob Lazar at his word, and element 115 is a real fuel source, and these things have a limited amount of element 115 in each of them, or certain ones carry it. Maybe they use it. Maybe other ones use a different fuel source. And then if you knew there was an automated system, and you knew how to spoof that system, and then you could maybe summon these things or get them to appear, then you shoot one down. Then there's so when you describe a Cold War scenario where you have Russia, China, and the United States, or the Five Eyes trying to basically stockpile element 115 by trapping these ships, shooting them down, killing the occupants, harvesting the 115 to build, I guess, a bunch of craft, right? I mean, what could you do with a bunch of element 115?
How many times do you need to down a recovered Ford Escort before you understand how it works? Like, it's not about understanding how it works. They're not like, this one's the one we're going to understand. No, they need something that's inside it that we can't replicate.
Meanwhile,
and
he's just delivering Uber.
Materials. And it's just going to be materials, and it also lends it sort of then you open up the can of worms of like, well, why would they need element 115 if 0 point energy exists? And you have to start thinking, well, different kinds of fuel for different kinds of activity. Maybe 0 point just isn't powerful enough. Maybe it's unlimited, but not quite.
I mean,
you can't.
You could run a car on nuclear fuel, I guess, but would you want to? Sure.
If you go back to the interview of Hal Puthoff and Eric Weinstein with Jesse, that's where Hal says that there's topological physics that is like the most secret, right? And that has to do with like topological materials, semiconductors, basically, essentially, different types and different kinds. And that's also one of the things that the lady that also disappeared before McCasland was sort of doing that type of science. So yeah.
Also, like, if you were, let's say, an extraterrestrial civilization, and you were sort of aware that we're taking down crafts or whatever, you know, wouldn't it, like, isn't it convenient that they give you the hardest element to produce to fly these things, when you could probably extract the same amount of energy within an atom or a water drop? Do you know what I mean? Like, it seems like, what if we're being psyoped by the aliens too? Like that, you know, this stuff is the densest, heaviest element, the hardest to produce, and we're like working round the clock to make it. Meanwhile, actually the lightest element would do. We're just, you know, so focused on reverse engineering whatever it is we found, and we're getting nowhere. Like, that would, you know, make more sense.
Like when we fuck with the cat with the laser.
Yeah, kind of. Like, we're just keeping them busy. You know, but then I don't know. I also feel like a lot of these crafts seem inert. Like, they seem like, you hear about these eggs and stuff. Like, it's just an egg. You know, they don't know how the things are flying. Like, even Bob Lazar admits, is like, okay, there's a fuel. They have no idea how the amplifier is interacting with the emitter, is interacting with the fuel. All three of them are not connected. They're not connected in any way. So why is it when I turn this drum, that thing starts working? And like, it makes no sense. It doesn't abide by any type of physics that we have. And another thing Bob would say a lot of times is that he has a feeling that they would just like take these craft out, or these whatever, every decade or so, see where we're at with physics, see where we're at with like technology, get a couple guys to tinker on it for a few years. Nope, back in the vault where it floats, you know, as this giant, solid, inert object that does nothing, that they can't weaponize, they can't fly to its fullest potential. It's just there. It does nothing. And they probably don't understand it, where it's from, what it does, how it works. And that's probably the reason they're not disclosing anything. They're probably just too embarrassed to admit that they have no idea what the hell these things are, or how they work, or where they're from, or anything at all. They have no solid answers. They're probably being psyoped from whatever it is, you know, they're getting it from.
But didn't Bob also go out into the desert with John Lear and get all those videos of like really weird test flights and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seemed like they had made enough progress to at least be flying some of the craft. Sure.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. You know, who knows what was flying that thing too?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Whether that was ours or theirs or both, or exactly. If there's
I
anything
mean,
even inside of it.
Did you guys ever see that interview with Jason Giorgiani on the Danny Jones podcast, where he talks about the time travel aspect of these devices, these machines? He's like, there's no way you can't use the craft without engaging in time distortion. There's some kind of a time distortion effect that is just a part and parcel of the physics of the way the craft has to work. So our pilots can fly them, but they get really disoriented, and we can't handle. Apparently, humans just aren't really equipped to handle the time dilation experience, because coming in and out of it just really throws people. And I had not really heard that before, but I watched this clip, and then I went back and watched the interview, and I was like, man, that is really interesting.
That's actually on Project Blue Book, the show, because they were using pilots to test these things in the show. And the pilots, when they came out, they were like all discombobulated and like really, like they seemed like they wanted to throw up. It was an interesting one. I'm sad that was canceled. It seemed to have a lot of really good information in it.
Well, if you take the idea of like the craft is in some kind of bubble and is insulated from our space-time in some way, it's like it's in its own space-time bubble. Then from the perspective of a person in the craft, if they were flying around a formation of like, I don't know, Navy fighter jets that were on, maneuvers out in the ocean someplace, and a UAP comes in, from the perspective of the pilot, they would be like the Flash running around. Everybody would be frozen. all these jets would be just in midair, and this thing would be able to like casually just kind of whatever zip around. But to the pilots flying the jets, they would see this crazy erratic movement. And then I guess if you come out of that as a human pilot, if you were in that craft, when you come back, or I guess shut down the craft or turn it off or whatever, then you rejoin, your bubble pops and you remerge with our space-time. That might really fuck people up. Which could be why they say that these grays are just droids. They're like little biological droids, because maybe they're built for that. That's why they fly the things.
You know Albuquerque? Do you guys know Albuquerque? The guy from Philadelphia Project? He was so like way back when there's like a 3-hour audio interview with this guy who apparently he says was a time traveler and lived the year fucking 2900 or whatever. And it was all due to like, Tesla working on these submarines that they were wrapping around Tesla coils and trying to make vanish and whatever. He ends up, on this ship with people like half in and out of the steel, screaming for their lives. Yeah. They made a movie out of it. But this guy's, there's like a 3-hour talk of this guy, probably like Art Bell or something. And he says at one point that Tesla, as he was working on this technology for the government, was pleading with them to put funding into making some type of device that they could wear, some type of wearable wristband that would anchor them into the current space-time. And he said that like without that, you would go nuts. Your brain would because your brain, space and time are both really integral anchors into reality, without which you won't be able to have this proper homeostasis rhythm as a human being. You will be completely thrown off kilter if you're taken out of space-time. It's just like there's nothing. It's like being in a sensory deprivation tank. You go just nuts after a while, type deal. So he said that was really important. And I spoke to an experiencer, and she said that when she was interacting with a being in her home, that she didn't feel like she was in her home, even though it looked like her home. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, these beings have the capacity of stopping time. And if you were to stop time around an area, if there was no time, it would also feel like there was no space. Like you wouldn't recognize your surroundings because you'd be taken out of space.
Do you think this has anything to do with, Chris, when people describe a craft coming near them, how they go, everything went silent.
Yes.
All the birds, all the insects, everything stopped.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, I've heard it called the Oz effect. And I've got several cases from 1977 California where that happened. There's no noise anywhere. It's like a void, a vacuum.
What's weird is I've heard two different versions of this. I've heard some people say, right before it appeared, everything got super quiet. The frogs, the mosquito, everything. No insects were flying. The breeze stopped blowing. It was dead quiet. And then other people will say it sounded like an electrical transformer. When you if you're walking down the street and you walk by one of those transformer stations and it's just, or high power line hum, it sounds like, or an amplifier that's plugged in and turned all the way up. It's like hum. And I've heard both, and I don't know what to make of that, but that's really the space-time
thing.
The
silent stuff comes up a lot. And it's like a threshold as well, like a field. People walk into it, if the craft is near. Yeah.
It happens with earthquakes too. I mean, I live in LA, and animals go quiet, and dogs stop barking, 30 seconds to a minute before earthquakes happen. Yep. Like birds stop chirping, crickets stop chirping, like they know something's going to happen. It's bizarre.
Boys, I gotta let you go. I gotta bounce. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here and talk to you. Always fascinating, guys. I love listening to you guys. I think you guys are awesome.
Thanks for coming and hanging out.
No, of course.
Yeah, this was really cool, dude.
Can't wait to see you
of course.
Again. For real.
Yeah. And remember, Alien or Psyop,
you
choose.
That's the only reason he came up.
Bye, Chris.
Bye.
Oh wow,
man.
Let's hear it for Chris Ramsey, ladies and gentlemen. We got it's a star-studded cast here. We've got Gerbio, Schlim Dog Millionaire, Chris Ramsey.
Also, there's that story of the crash retrieval where a military guy, I thought it was a colonel or a captain or something, went into a craft and he was in there for 15 minutes and came out with a 4-day beard. So time had gone slower for him in there, and then when he came out, he had like a little beard.
Dude, go. If I would show it right now, but it's a Disney movie and they won't let me. We'll all get screwed. But anyone who is watching right now, go open a YouTube window and watch the trailer for Flight of the Navigator. This movie was made in 1984, and in that movie, all of the shit that happens to these experiencers, the stuff that they describe, is shown in this trailer. Like, this kid has missing time. Everything about his experience is like beat for beat for beat what people describe when coming into contact with these craft or being on board them, and then travel when they go through whatever high speed transport system they use to get from A to B. This time dilation effect. This kid thought he was missing for like 15 minutes, but he'd been gone for 10 years. And then his family finds him, and the NASA basically studies this kid. This movie is like, I think, soft disclosure. And I've said it many times on this show, but I think it has a lot to do with real stuff.
I go through 15 different experience stories tonight on my episode, and they all describe the same, and they're not all alien encounters. They're all. There's Alien, there's Men in Black, there's psychedelic experiences, there's NDEs, there's spontaneous awakenings. All of them correlate with each other, and it's insane how they're all the same experience. That as soon as you hear the weight of all of these stories being told next to each other, it becomes beyond doubt to me personally that this is all one phenomena at this point, and it always has been.
David Jacobs talked about that. He said when he was studying abductions, he said the stories were so similar over time. After a while, he got bored. He's like, you're just listening to the same story over and over and over again about this. Like, this is a procedure they do to these people, and it's very standard. And it's just like, it's kind of
protocol.
Boring. Protocol. And then you hear some stories are really, really weird. And when they start saying things that they see on board the ship and that type of thing, that's where he would pay attention. He would perk up and go, oh, okay. There was a clip that I had pulled up. Oh, I wonder if I can find this really quick of, here it is. Carla Turner.
I need to share the separate tab or whatever.
Yeah, we're on the rocket launch right now.
Here we go. Let me see here. I'm going to pull this up. I just had to find the right part of this. Okay, so here's Carla Turner from a MUFON lecture in 1995. She is an experiencer. She wrote a book called Into the Fringe, and a researcher. And what I love about Carla is that, and not many people know about her, not enough people know about her, but she has a real no horse shit kind of attitude about this whole thing. And she takes no prisoners and she suffers no fools. And she's very much like, what the fuck are these beings doing? And this whole presentation she's doing is about all of the facts that we know we can take to the bank about one-on-one contacts that people have had with these beings. And so she's going to talk about bodies, human bodies. Just take a listen.
Taking me since childhood, I don't know how to stop it. And he gave her his full name. That's all he had in his control to do.
Oh, let me back this up. This is a mass abduction event she's going to describe here. Hold on.
Here on sightings, I described and taken how Lisa, one of the abductees reported on here, was forced to have sex with another abductee in one of her encounters. It was an extremely poignant situation after the fact. The man told her, apologized to her, told her how sorry he was that he was being forced to do this to her. He said, they've been taking me since childhood. I don't know how to stop it. And he gave her his full name. That's all he had in his control to do. What about the cloning? I mentioned this earlier. And I'm not talking about just the potential and I think very evidentially supported idea that the little gray workers you're also familiar with, like the little guy down here on the floor, are cloned, produced, manufactured like, you know, we do Fords, Chevys. Not just this kind of cloning of the same sort of creatures to go out and do the work, but also the cloning of human bodies, which, as I said, have been shown to abductees. Sometimes they match and are identical to the human in the situation. Sometimes they're just a bunch of identical bodies, inert adult bodies. In one case, a man was taken to a facility in which he saw a room in which there were about 40 inert human bodies, 20 male, 20 female. The males were all identical to each other. The females were identical to each other, and they were beautiful, blonde, healthy specimens.
The fuck?
What do these things have to do, is what I've asked you to think about, with the crossbreeding agenda? Fact number 8. All of the things that I've described to you so far are part of the aliens' physical aims and procedures. But that isn't all there is to their motivations. The agenda also involves the long-term psychological programming of the abductee. It targets, among other concepts, our social and personal relationships, our sexuality, our political ideas, and our religious and spiritual concerns. For instance, many of us, through our experiences, and I think I could get a show of hands on this, are made to be highly suspicious of our government. Now, perhaps with good reason. And in general, we become less trusting and intimate with people outside of this field, and very paranoid often of people within this field. As one of the women in the book, Jane, in Taken, has said, the aliens had fostered in her mind a mistrust of the government. Certainly it has changed most abductees' spiritual concerns and social agenda.
Isn't this interesting? Like this goes on for another hour, but I mean, this is stuff that you're hearing now like it's news, like it's new news, but this is old information. The cloned manufactured grays. That's old news. That was old in 1995.
This is where my fascination lives. This is my favorite part of the topic, is this kind of stuff. I want to know so badly what they're doing, what the point is. And again, you hear the same stories. I mean, I think I told you guys off air last week, or did I tell the story on air about my friend's experience with her son? I tell it on the air.
I don't remember. What is this?
She told me I can share it. I have a friend who's an experiencer, a lifetime experiencer, and has abductions and has like a continuing contact to this day. And she told me about a dream. She called it a dream she had recently, but a very weird dream that, you know, when experiencers talk about dreams, you have to wonder, like, and they wonder too, like, is it really a dream or did this happen? But she was on a craft again, and she saw her son laying on her. She's like a young son. I forget his age, but he's like about 3 or 4 years old. And he was on a table, the classic kind of, you know, the metal brushed aluminum type table. I don't know if it was floating or not, but she went over there and there were beings around, and they gave her a tool, like an instrument that was kind of like a curved and rounded tipped, again, solid steel reflective tool that had like a tube or like a needle coming out of the front of it. And they kind of gave it to her and just watched to see what she did. And she knew that what she was supposed to do was to like get that tube part inside of her son's penis. And she didn't want to do it, but they were just kind of looking at her like, you know, you have to do this. And she did it, and she didn't know it was for urine or something else, but she felt in this dream, she felt very uncomfortable doing it, but knowing that she had to. And since that happened, she's been struggling to come to terms with like, what was that? Even if it was a dream, what is that? And if it's real, what the fuck was that? Yeah. So now I'm trying to look into, I'm trying to talk to more people about experiences where people have been asked to use instruments and use these tools given to them by beings. And trying to learn more about that because I've heard a few and it's strange.
This is one of those things that I know is very polarizing for people. And this is why the fact that these experiences exist is why I am not on board with the Love and Light Brigade. I'm not okay with it. I'm not on board with that shit. I don't know that there's no threat, and I don't care what Stephen Greer says, and I don't care what anybody says. If a being, as a parent, if I found myself in a situation where my son was on a table and I was surrounded by other beings and they were like, "You got to do this," I would either shove that up an alien's ass or I would go down fighting all of those. There's no way that's okay. And if people are being taken without their consent, from whether it's aliens or whatever, and I don't care what the story is that they come back with, "Oh my God, it was so beautiful, it was love and light and all this wonderful stuff." It is kidnapping. It's assault. It's sexual assault. It's emotional trauma. It's everything that is wrong with it when a person does it to another person, and it doesn't make a difference if it's a non-human or a mantis in a fucking giant purple robe. That makes it even worse. So, you know, when you start really peeling the onion, and this is what I mean about, you can't just come out and say Roswell happened. Because there's a direct line from that to this. And as uncomfortable as it may be to walk that line, at some point you have to deal with the fact that people are being taken, lots of them. And regardless of what the reason may be that is given to these people, as Carla Turner in this presentation I'm showing you here, this is what it's about. She's saying in this presentation, and I encourage everyone to watch it, and I'll put a link to it in the chat really quick. But she's saying, we've got to call bullshit on the Love and Light Brigade because this is real. What's happening to these people is psychologically destroying them, and it's dark. And that might be what some of the people in the know that we've heard from in the last few years when they say, "Oh, yeah, it gets pretty dark the closer you get to the truth." I feel like this is where it goes.
Yeah.
I feel like you wind up here.
She
says, by the way, real quick, Dan, just to finish one thing, because I wanted to show this part, but I couldn't find it. She says in this segment somewhere in here, she goes, one woman was shown her clone, and she was told that she would be removed and her clone would go in her place and go to work and come back home and pick up the kids. And she was shown this. She's like, "We have a copy of you that can go do the things and stand in for you, so we can pull you out anytime we want." That was fucking weird.
Yeah.
Nothing's beyond anymore, is it?
Did you guys see that?
The pale.
Did you guys see that clip from the Hollywood Reporter roundtables where Jamie Foxx recently talked about being a clone?
No.
It's like from 2 days ago. Let me show it to you.
Xander, did you see the clip I sent you of Robbie Williams?
Yeah, the reptilian.
Yes, yeah.
Or the shapeshifter.
Sent.
Also, just
Josh did it on Polarity. He got it on Polarity. Okay. Maybe I'll pull up Josh's
Clint,
clip.
to your point, I just want to go real quick before we move on. You said that it's kidnapping and it's sexual assault and all that stuff, which you're absolutely right about. But then I keep asking, like, what right do we have to even be upset about that when we've done that to every single species on planet Earth? We have dogs in our home that live with us kind of against their will. We've taken dolphins out of the ocean and tagged them with bears and squirrels and we've done that. We've done what you're saying to everything. And
I think it's
do we have any right to be upset about it?
Well, I think it's just important to recognize that we just don't know.
Yeah.
Like, my cat doesn't know. She might consider it sexual assault when I have to take her to the vets to have her arsehole shaved because she's just too fluffy. Like, she's one of the really fluffy
extra
cats.
to get my asshole shaved. It's a whole thing.
And she hates it. She hates it so much. She's being abducted by aliens when that happens, for all intents and purposes.
Sure.
But I'm doing it because I love her, and like, she needs to have it done, or she just stinks of shit. So,
in spirit, I see where you're going, Dan, and I don't disagree with you in principle. I do think that the brass tacks, reality of being face to face with your own lifetime experiences of being taken against your will, having nothing to compare that to personally, I don't feel like I'm in a very good place to say much about it, but I would assume, and again, as a parent, if somebody takes my kid, I don't really give a fuck. Like now we're in a whole nother planet. We're on a whole different fucking world now, and everything, all bets are off. So I think that's how most people would instinctively react, whether or not there's a moral, high ground here or not. I don't know if that's,
but also
that's a bigger question.
My friend said like she didn't want to do this, but it was like not a compulsion, but she sort of knew she had to and just like did it. It wasn't like I should probably do this. She didn't.
Again, David Jacobs, last week we showed that clip of David Jacobs, and he goes this, and he said that he's like, they can control us. They can make you do things. They make you do things you don't want to do. They can make you feel good while you're doing them, and then after you're done, you're going to feel like, oh my God, what have I done?
So she sketched the device really well, and I put it in ChatGPT, and I showed her a version. She said, change this one thing. And I sent her back this. She goes, this is exactly what I was given.
Can you imagine that going in your penis? Jesus Christ.
Dan, I know you've mentioned you're interested in tools and instruments. Can we expect something from you? And when and what will that look like, if you can share?
I do have a plan. I'm just kind of in a research stage now, and I wanna just get as much as I can together first before I do something, but I am working on something about that exact thing. Yeah.
Can't wait. Cool.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yep.
That is, I've got this clip here. I want to show Robbie Williams. You guys want to see? Have you seen this? Have you guys seen this?
I haven't watched it yet. No, I'd love to see it.
Oh my God. So Josh got picked up on this, and let's show it here. Let me, wait, did you click? Cue it, or did I cue it? Here we go. All right.
Actually been out to Skinwalker Ranch with Jeremy Corbell, with George Knapp.
Yeah, I guess that the only thing that stops me from going, hey, I'm a full-on believer, is because of what other people think. If I'm honest, I'm just sat here, contemplating what my motives are. It's like, I believe there's other stuff there. I've said it. I always try and qualify that with, but I'm not sure because I might be crazy, and don't worry about me. I'm just an idiot. But I do believe, and hence why I'm here.
He's spoken openly about his own UFO encounters. I believe he's had at least 2, and we're talking about like giant-sized craft that have gone over his head. We've covered these a long time ago on the channel, but here he is in the last 24 hours in a radio station in Melbourne, Australia, talking about a reptilian that he saw face to face. Let's take a look at this clip.
Let me tell you this, right?
Yeah.
Take of this what you like.
Yeah.
I was in bed with a woman, and that's it. That's the end of my story. I was in bed.
I love Robbie Williams.
I was in bed with a woman, right? I'm lying on the pillow, and I'm looking at her face, right? Her face turned into what I could only describe as a reptilian.
Oh, listen.
My face went, oh my God. She looks at me and she says, I'm not a reptilian. Boom.
What?
Yeah, it's a shapeshifter. That's what they're really
Billy
called.
Corgan had that. Didn't Billy Corgan say the same thing?
Pixar, it didn't happen.
Pixar didn't happen. Yeah, well, yeah. She turned into a reptilian.
When we were in Austin, when we were all in Austin together, I spoke to someone who told me a story of watching that happen face to face with somebody.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Pavel knows. I can't say more than that, but it was a pretty chilling account. And it, yeah. Maybe hopefully that story can be told someday. But it was fucking bizarre, man.
Right? I struggle with this because I like anybody else. I see those clips online. You see those weird like clips of people pull from. They'll find out like 10 seconds of a thing from a TV show or a news interview, and they'll zoom in on somebody's eye, and they'll be like, "Watch this eye. It's going to turn into a reptile eye." Or, look at Beyonce when she goes like this, she turns into a demon or whatever. You know what I mean?
Like George Bush or early George Bush videos. There's videos of him having the reptilian eyeball.
The reptilian eyeball.
Yeah.
I have a hard time with that because it just seems so, maybe the ontological shock for a guy like me would be finding out that all the fucking demon shit is real and it's not aliens. It actually is some kind of weird, it actually is more like magic and sorcery than it is like science and technology. And maybe that would be the ontological shock, that we built a world on materialism and this sort of like reductionist approach to like finding a physical explanation for everything. But in point of fact, we actually took a wrong turn a couple hundred years ago and we missed a lot of shit. Maybe. Let's I got this Jamie Foxx clip. You want to take a look at this?
That is wild.
Let's see what he says.
I snuck my phone because I didn't know what the outside world was saying. And so I snuck my phone to see what people were saying. I've just been in this hospital and I couldn't get my mind around it. I had a stroke. I'm in fucking perfect shape. The clone threw me.
Yes.
When they said I was a clone, that made me flip in the hospital. That's it. These motherfuckers is trying to clone me. I didn't have a stroke. So I'm sitting in the hospital bed like these, and then I saw me walk into my room. But I'm white, so I see the white me.
But he had a Caesar too, just
not
like you?
all that, the white me.
Okay, gotcha.
And I'm like, and I'm trying to get their attention, and no one said anything. And I'm like, that's it. They trying to clone me. I snuck my phone because I didn't know what the outside world.
What is he talking about? Let's watch it again.
Yes.
Hold on.
That is and so I snuck my phone to see what people were saying. I've just been in this hospital and I couldn't get my mind around it. I had a stroke. I'm in fucking perfect shape. The clone threw me.
Yes.
When they said I was a clone, that made me flip in the hospital. That's it. These motherfuckers is trying to clone me. I didn't have a stroke. So I'm sitting in the hospital bed like these, and then I saw me walk into my room. But I'm white, so I see the white me.
But he had a Caesar too, just
not
like you?
all that, the white
What
me.
the
And I'm like, and I'm trying
There's
to
a
get their
longer
attention,
clip.
and no one said anything. And I'm like, that's it. They trying to clone me.
He was like
There's a
close to
longer
death a year or two ago in the hospital. And
Can
he's
we
talking
just say Jamie Foxx looks great, man? How old is he? He's got to be like what, 50?
He's in his
something?
50s.
I think he's 4. That clone, that
the
particular
old
clone.
him. Yeah, the old him was 50, and this guy's 5 years old.
He looks amazing. I don't know. He's like whatever he's doing. He might be a clone.
He's 58, actually.
Is he almost
God
60?
damn, man.
Almost 60.
God,
That's totally
unbelievable.
Would. I so would.
You would switch for Jamie
No.
Foxx. He's a triple
No.
threat, man.
I would. You know what I'm saying?
What about the white version or the which one do you want?
Dude, I'll take both Yin Yang Jimmy Fox. Give me both.
All right.
I'll take them both.
Chocolate vanilla swirl.
Oreo, take it.
Biracial Eiffel Tower.
There it is.
Well,
Jimmy
so on that
Fox,
note,
right?
Oh my God, that was great. How are we only at 1,173? We need to be up at 2,000 by now, guys. If you haven't hit that like button by yet, please please hit the like button.
Are we wrapping up?
I feel like we're close. I mean, how much time do you guys have?
Did you watch the? I shared a video. I know Pavel watched it. I know Xander watched it. Did you guys see on YouTube? There's this YouTube page. It's all like police body cam footage, and there was a cop who got called into Area 51 because someone had snuck in. So it's body cam footage from inside Area 51, going further than anyone's ever been, like footage we've never seen from Area 51. And they interviewed this guy who's like super calm and very like super calm, cool, and collected. And he's like, I'm here because this place deals with time dilation, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. I'm like, I've been here before. I've lived this before. You can remove me from the base, but like, I'll just be here again. And the guy's he doesn't sound crazy, and he has badges on him. He has work badges from I think the U.S. Army, Redstone, and NASA, and his badge is kind of checked out.
This is the guy the cop is going in to talk to?
So the Area 51 soldiers called the police, said this guy trespassed. The cops come in, full body cam interview with the guy, and the guy's like, they're like, what are you doing here? And he goes, it was my birthday yesterday, and I just want to come check this place out. I know this place is messing with time dilation. And the cop's like, time travel? We're talking about time. He goes, no, not time travel. Time dilation happens on this base, and I'm trying to get some answers. I think I've been here before. Like, I'm going to be here again, even if you remove me. But the guy was not a harm to anybody. He was super cool. Like, he didn't seem crazy at all. The cop was talking to him like he was an idiot, which is super rude. But he's saying this wild stuff, and behind him are 2 or 3 Area 51 employees, soldiers, whatever. And he's saying this kind of wild stuff. None of them smirk. None of them have any kind of like, this guy's obviously nuts reaction. They're just like staying chill. And then the cop has to drive a mile more into the base to go to like some like security shack. So we're inside. There's footage from inside a security shack with monitors and stuff in Area 51, and it's fascinating. I ripped the video because I have a feeling that video will probably be taken down at some point.
Can we see it?
Yeah, it's in the group chat.
It's about 20 minutes long.
Can we just like,
yeah, it's way too long.
Skip around a little. Is it that you can't just like skip?
It's one of those, you got to watch it all.
Yeah.
I wonder why a base like that would need outside law enforcement. They've got everything they need right there to arrest that guy. They've got military police on site, security.
Yeah.
Like, why would you call in an off-site guy? And why would any security team let a cop with a body cam walk around a secure facility and then leave with that footage?
There's another part.
It's like walking around with your cell phone out.
So the cop gets the phone numbers of the soldiers, and at one point the cop is a mile down the road in the security shack, and he gets a text from one of the soldiers being like, "This fucking cop, like he's like digging around, he won't leave or whatever," and the soldier meant to text it to the guy in the security shack, but he texted the cop instead. So the cop is on the body cam being like, I think your guys want me out of here. I don't know what's going on here, but they're texting each other, but this cop won't leave, kind of thing.
This sounds like some really goofy security. Like, they're not very good.
It's
the overarching
I
thing.
don't know what it means,
but the feeling I got was it was really Groundhog Day. The guy seemed to be under the impression that it doesn't really matter what happened to him that night. He can just try something else the next day.
And the
that Tom Cruise movie. What's it called? That he keeps living the same day over and over.
Yeah, it seemed like I'll just try a different route tomorrow.
And they're trying to get him like, if the cop's like, we're gonna let you go, but you have to promise that you won't do this again. And the guy's like, I don't know if I can do that. He's like, what if I'm invited back here? And the cop's like, you won't be. And the guy's like, well, you don't know, but if I am, I don't want to promise you if I might get invited at another time, because I think I will be back here again. It was so interesting.
And he tried to get in another base elsewhere as well.
Yeah, Nellis. He tried to get into Nellis.
Nellis, yeah. It's strange. It's a strange one.
That's
it's
a strange
entertaining.
But he doesn't sound crazy. Yeah.
It is weird that they would call an outside law enforcement guy. That's interesting. But hey, what do I know? Wow. Maybe he is the time. I imagine the United States has done time travel experiments or time dilation for sure.
I still can't wrap my head around time travel. How it
I'll
works.
be right
Project
back,
Aquarius.
gentlemen. I'll be right back.
Project Aquarius.
All right.
Yeah,
Project Aquarius. Project Looking Glass.
Who was it that said? It was Eric Davis, wasn't it, that said that Ford was briefed, but the guy that was ontologically shot the president.
Carter.
Carter. I always get Ford and Carter mixed up. Yeah, it was Project Aquarius that he was briefed on.
Project Aquarius.
Yeah, that's what Eric Davis is saying. And he was told that by a former White House staffer that was the staffer he was like the senior staffer at the White House at the time that meeting happened. And the Project Aquarius document that apparently is very difficult to find online, but probably isn't, is basically like a recreation based on the notes of the economic advisors that were also in the meeting, that after the meeting, the briefing, they all went to a motel and they all basically like passed a notepad around.
Oh, that's right.
To try and recall absolutely everything that they'd just been see, because you can't take these documents when you're in the meeting. You have to give them back to the I think it's CIA, isn't it, to go and then shred the document.
But even those
so
compiled notes that they made, that was destroyed at some point too, right?
Apparently they were scrubbed from the internet, but I think we could probably find them.
I would love to see that.
I know what they look like in my head. I'm sure I've seen them before, the Project Aquarius documents. But apparently they're real, and Project Aquarius has Project Looking Glass, Sidekick. That confirms Lazar. I don't know whether it confirms Burish, because the Aquarius documents, he could have just read them and made up a story around them. But yeah, time dilation.
Dilation.
Glass.
Clint, what's up with your Burish project?
Oh my God, I'm trying to get some connective tissue here. Because it is a lot of interviews. It's a lot of old interviews with Dan talking about a lot of really like 4 or 5 specific topics that he gets into over and over again. But each time he does an interview, he reveals different little bits and pieces. So you kind of have to group it by topic. But it needs some connective tissue to tie everything together, because otherwise you only have Dan's word to go on. And the documentation is there. And Brian Jackson's done all the legwork on this research. So my biggest challenge has been trying to get this all into a digestible format. And that's really the thing that I'm struggling with, because there's so much material. It's like 9 hours. If you just laid it end to end, it could be like 10, 12 hours worth of stuff to just go through, that you could lay it end to end and have the complete picture, but that's just way too much. So I'm trying to condense it without losing anything. And that's more of a challenge than I expected.
I can't wait.
Yeah. It's coming along. That's why I said summer. I didn't say this is something I'm putting a lot of special time into, and I'm not trying to rush this. I want to get it right. So, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully,
Speaking of other things,
contact.
We've got the S4 documentary finally coming
I feel like we
out,
should
and
end
it's
on
soon. Yeah, I have it queued up ready.
Yeah, guys, you're in for a treat if you haven't seen this. Luigi and the team over at Project Gravitar dropped the new trailer for S4, the Bob Lazar story, and it is a spicy meatball. Let's take a look.
Physical evidence now exists which proves that there is life elsewhere, and at least one form of that life has been here. As of 1989, that evidence was in the custody of the United States government. Between December of 1988 and April of 1989, I worked as a senior staff physicist in what has to be the most secret project in history. My job in this program was to be part of a back engineering team. This particular disc appeared to be in excellent condition, and because of its sleek appearance, I nicknamed it the Sport Model. The goal in this program was to see if the technology of the disc could be duplicated with Earth materials. To start up the reactor, of course, we need some element 115. In fact, you need 223 grams, machined into a wedge like this. The program out at S4 consisted of 3 projects: Project Galileo, Project Sidekick, and Project Looking Glass.
The file on top was Project Galileo, and as it turned out, that's the project that I was part of. And that clearly referred to reverse engineering a recovered alien spacecraft.
Just cannot be a secret from anyone, not just the American people, but the rest of the world.
All this stuff is something that happened to him. It's not who he is.
They're doing everything they can to keep this information secret.
There
that's empirical evidence. I saw a craft to do that thanks to him.
Now this story spills. And the world changed.
Like,
who? That's not AI, is it? They did, because I don't know if anything's changed, but I know they de-aged Bob not using AI. They literally wrote a program that de-aged him, and that they have like actors and stuff, don't they? On green screens.
God, we're gonna ask. I'm gonna see if I can get Luigi to come on next Friday, and we'll be able to get all this information out of him. But if I remember right, he was saying they not only wrote their own software, they built their own hardware to run the software they custom wrote. And then they made, like, what you just saw, guys, was rendered. Like, a lot of that is like, that's CGI recreations of the space that look photorealistic. And they did that. Like, they've been working on this for, years now. It's been going on
has
for a
just
long
reminded
time.
me. It was originally in Unreal Engine, and I think they then moved to Blender because Blender can just makes things cinematic at the end of the day.
And like,
wow.
When we were in Austin, and when watching Bob and Luigi and everyone talk about this, when you hear Bob talk about being so adamant as to how close this material is to what he actually saw, makes me just so excited to see it. And if we're even looking at those clips, to think like, this is really what he saw, it blows my brain out the back of my head. Like when you see the craft going across the desert, I would give anything to see that. To stay inside the sport model?
Dude, he said, didn't he say that they did, when Luigi was doing research for this, now, Luigi used to run MUFON in Canada, right? Wasn't he the head of MUFON for a period of time? Am I getting that wrong?
I didn't know that.
He was a big MUFON guy for a period of time. But again, we're going to have Luigi on Friday, so we'll be able to ask him all these questions. But they were so meticulous in the research. If I remember right, he said Bob said that they even got the coffee cups, the paper cups in the cafeteria. They had the same cup that was there at the base when he was there. When he watched when he put on the VR headset experience, or he was seeing things that were so accurate. They was blowing him away. And I wonder, like, I guess at a certain point, it's in your mind, right? Like, we all build it up to be this amazing, huge, like, mind-blowing event. But then also at the same time, there is a real reality to it. Like, someone's got to go in there. Someone's got to bring in a fucking extension cord. No one can see shit. We got to get some lights. Go down to Home Depot, pick up some lights, get a case of Mountain Dew while you're there. We're going to be here all night, people. We're going to get in there. Your floor-time shoes, you walk in, you're stepping into an alien craft, but you got to get in there and start figuring it out, I guess.
I remember Venditelli saying that he basically found a treasure trove of the most mundane photos on the internet. You can find them; they are public, but obviously they removed the ones that you can't have a look at because there's aliens and stuff in it.
Sure.
But, there's a load of mundane photos from just laboratories in Area 51 and things like that. And they used those as references. And they also apparently even tried to find out what the weather was on the days that Bob was there, so that they could mimic the same sort of cloud formations and things like that, it affects lighting and everything. So they wanted to get it. They were basically like, way more detailed than they needed to be, to make sure that what we see was quite literally exactly what Bob saw. And when we were in Austin, that's exactly what Bob said. He said, "This is literally it. There is no other word except what you're going to see is literally what I saw."
Grelch in our chat asks, how does someone remember the kind of paper cup that was used in your office 40 years ago? That's a good question, but I think it's those little details that make me believe this stuff. It's those little tiny details of the day-to-day kind of mundane. Yeah, I come in and every day I got to go to the cafeteria and get some, I get a coffee, and there's things that just are part of your day that you would remember. And it made me think of, like, there's this coffee cup that you used to see a lot in New York, and at all the food trucks. You know, go to the little get a cup of coffee or something. You'd see these little Greek-looking paper cups. This is just like a New York thing. You used to see this everywhere, and now you don't really see it as much, but you still find them around once in a while. In fact, if you watch movies from the 90s and 80s, you'll find that like every time someone's in New York, they're drinking a coffee at like a little New York newsstand or whatever. This is what they're drinking from. And it's like little details. I remember this just because I you know, you see it. I think that, I don't know, that's what lends it credibility to me. You know, he's like, oh yeah, it had that same little design on there. It was like something about that little design that.
Yes. It's also the kind of thing where like maybe Bob didn't describe it, but when he saw it, it was like, that's the one. Like you just showed me that cup. If you asked me about that cup, I could never explain it. But you just put on the screen like, oh yeah, I've seen that. Of course, I've seen that.
Yeah, it's like, you know what it is.
Jogs a
It's
memory.
just-
Yep.
Yeah.
I wonder if they perhaps like, once they found a picture of the coffee cup, they then went onto Google and found some similar pictures of other coffee cups from other sources and showed Bob, and he was maybe like pointed at the one that was at Area 51.
Right.
Like, oh, cool, that was the one. I don't know. That's a test I would do.
Domic 1983 says, have you guys ever wondered how Lazar knew there was a reactor on that ship and that it required 220, I think it was 223? Was it 226 grams of 115? Could it be that the owners told them? He was there to work on the reactor. That was his job, was to figure out how this reactor worked. And he actually, Bob was brought in to replace a guy who was killed when they tried to cut a reactor open, and it exploded, killed everybody. And they actually registered it on seismographs, and Area 51 base people had to say it was an unannounced subterranean nuclear explosion test they were doing.
So
atomic test.
I never thought about this. So the reactor exploded?
They tried to cut into one. They didn't know what they were doing. They were like, well, we got to get in there somehow. Let's cut it open. And then they fired up the old fucking laser torch. And when they went to cut this thing open, it ruptured or whatever happened. It exploded and killed everybody. And then Bob is brought in to replace one of the guys who was killed in that explosion.
To look at a different reactor? Like, did the one that blew up? But
yeah, they had other.
Is that Bob? I don't think that's Bob's testimony, though. Is it? He was told that his predecessor was killed, but I think that is that a Burrish.
No, I think that was a Bob.
No, that was Lazar.
Lazar literally said that it had to be covered up as a underground nuclear explosion.
Yeah,
unannounced.
Yeah, he said it on Joe Rogan.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah, that's where it was.
Yeah,
and he was with another guy. He had a lab partner or like a research. There was another guy that he worked with
Barry.
when he was who?
Barry.
Yeah, and they were tasked with figuring out the reactor and how it worked, and so they started to like fool around with it. And I think the other thing that was really interesting about that is he said the whole reactor, when you see it, and this is what Luigi is trying to do for people, right? Like people say, what did it look like? What was it like? How did it feel to pick it up and hold it in your hands and all this stuff? The Project Gravitar VR experience and the documentary and the whole project is about like that level of detail, really giving people a look inside the craft at what it was that they were dealing with. And one of the things that Bob always talks about is how there's like nothing to it. It's so nothing inside. There's like, that's the confusion. You saw it right there. You saw some shots of inside. There's like nothing to it. There's it looks like a plastic molded.
It looks like a pre-render.
Well, nothing to the level
like a
that
placeholder.
He saw. There's 3 levels to it. He only had access to 1 level, correct?
1 level, yeah. Well, he said that he described the gravity emitters.
He could dangle his head down into the
he
hatch.
would. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and he said that specifically element 115 wasn't it. It's more than a fuel source. It was like when they bombard it with some kind of energy, it decays, and when it decays, it creates a gravity wave that they can use a waveguide to channel down to these 3 emitters at the bottom of the craft, that when they swing them into like, what is it, alpha, omicron, there's delta, there's like 3 different configurations they have. 2 forward, 1 back, or what?
No, I was just doing a Bob impression. Never mind.
There's like an omicron or whatever. There's like 2 or 3 terms he uses for these different configurations. And he's like, that's why you'll see the craft, the disc will flip sideways. And here's one that Mr. Justin made for me. So here's our little craft. And then I've got my little alien inside the craft. Thanks, Mr. Justin, for making these. And it flips sideways, and they travel like this because the gravity emitter just pulls it. It creates a negative, I don't know, pressure thing in front of it, and it pulls it towards that. Very cool.
So the 115 has a neutron, an extra neutron fired at it to turn it into 116, which then decays very quickly because it's unstable. And apparently, this is the part where science just disappears. But I mean, if we're talking about new physics, it doesn't matter anyway. It's that moment, that decay, that emits a gravity wave, apparently. And it's not standard gravity. That there are two kinds of gravity. We experience gravity B, that's the one that we recognize, but there's a gravity A as well, apparently. And it's gravity A that's produced, which is a sort of like a micro version of gravity.
So gravity B would be like gravity from a natural planetary body that's pulling everything to like
the gravity
regular plain old gravity.
That's gravity, like gravity B.
And then gravity A is
gravity
something
A.
you can make.
Yeah, there were some people that it may well be fundamental as well, but we just don't understand in what way. I mean, there's obviously the strong and weak nuclear forces that quite literally hold atoms together. You could sort of, in a way, envision that as like, you know, is it pulling it? Is it a kind of gravity? I don't know. Like, so some people have sort of conflated the two, saying, "Oh, he was talking about the weak, the strong gravitational force, or the weak gravitational force." But I don't think he was, because at the same time he was also saying it acted as a wave, which for the time wasn't unheard of. It just wasn't very popular to describe gravity as a wave. And then, of course, in 2004, I believe it was, LIGO detected gravity waves for the first time, and now we know that gravity does behave like a wave, which is something Bob said.
Philip Sosophy asks, what was the name of the movie I recommended you guys watch? It is Flight of the Navigator, and you don't even have to watch the movie. I'm going to just put the trailer. There's a modern recut of the trailer that I just put in the chat. And if you guys click that link and watch it, I can't show it here or they'll ding me, but you'll see in the first, like, it's 2 minutes, a minute and 40 seconds. You're going to see all the major beats of time dilation and all this stuff.
Clint, may I make a suggestion for you?
Yeah.
Since you have a Patreon now, which is awesome, can we do a Flight of the Navigator watch along on Patreon?
I would love to.
Because that way you don't have to, you can do that legally. It's fine.
How do you do it? I've never done one. I don't know how to.
Well, I'll tell you, it's great, but it could be fun for the audience. That would be a blast to do a little watch along.
Yeah, the Discord people too. We want to do another Q&A with on Discord, or do some kind of like a Discord hangout. I know a lot of folks were asking about that, and we've got for people who don't know. I mean, it's pretty easy to figure out. We're obviously spread out all over the world. I mean, we've got Xander in the UK, and I'm on the East Coast, and Pavel's in Mexico, and Eric's out in Colorado, and Dan's out in California. We're spread all over the fucking place. So getting us all together in one place. This is Fridays is kind of it for us. We can all, get together. But it would be cool if we could do it a second day and do some kind of watch along. I'd be up for it.
Yep.
Well, guys, it's coming up on 3 hours. I think that's it for us today. Anybody got anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Muted.
Yeah. I loved it. I do want to people to look out for my next video on Psicoactivo, because I'm gonna do like the follow-up of Matt's interview was today's interview between Stephen Diener and Jeff Nuccitelli. And they talked about more details of the initiative, of the harassment that they've suffered. And Jeff talks about an encounter that he had that he hadn't discussed before, which I found really interesting.
He did?
From 2003. It's new for me. I don't know. Probably you've heard it, Dan, but it's news for me.
Oh, cool. Can't wait to go watch. Cool.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat just asked, Outhouse Mouse 2 wants to know what company makes the UFO necklace that Clint has. Okay, so this is the necklace. Let's see if I can show it here. I'll get a little closer. I'm wearing it, so it's kind of hard. This is called Welcome Aboard. Let's see here. Can I go full screen here? There you go. and Mitch Onger makes these. Mitch's website, I just had it. Where is it? It's Earthen Objects Jewelry.
And the triangle one is my favorite one. I got it on the screen right here.
Earthen Objects Jewelry. You got it? There it is.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Look at that thing, guys.
Yeah.
He makes the coolest shit. He has the Tic Tac or the Tic Tac Fleer stuff. Good stuff.
Go here if you guys are interested in supporting somebody who really works hard at this and does an amazing job. Mitch does amazing work. He makes each one of these by hand. It takes a long time. It's a very detailed process, and it's painstaking. But like this one, look at that thing, dude. Yeah. So he gave me the three. I had this one, the TR3B one that you have, and the Welcome Aboard, and this one. And I gave this to Ryan Graves when we were in Austin, and he looked at it and geeked out so hard. He's like, God, I spent so many hours looking at this display. And he was reading the fucking text, and look at this is in a steel. I mean, this thing is made out of heavy duty metal, and it's all tiny little details.
And in real life, it's just as good. I mean, it's incredible.
It's awesome.
Incredible. Yeah.
It feels so cool to wear. And when people are like, "Oh, are you into UFOs?" and you pull out one of these, and you're like, "Am I? Oh my God.
What do you think, homie?
What do you think?" I want to get them all and wear them all the time, like Mr. T. I want to get them.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit! New Gerb just dropped.
New Gerb?
Yeah.
7 hours. How long?
Yeah. I don't know.
What's it about?
Hold on. Holy crap. 3.5 hours. Northrop Grumman and TRW.
Oh, tasty.
Ooh. All right.
Yes. More names will be dropped, I would guess.
Maybe we'll get Gerb to come by next week, and we'll get Gerb and Luigi if we can get them both. That'd be great.
Powerhouse.
All right, so we got a new Gerb. We've got new Weaponized this week, guys. You got to watch Weaponized with Matt Brown. This is a awesome interview. If you don't know Matt's story yet, go watch the first one that Jeremy and George did, and then come back and watch the second one, and this will open your mind to a whole new level of this thing. And then what else is going on? Xander, you've got a new one coming up?
I have one every week. It's fine.
You got it. What do you want to? You mentioned it earlier. Do you want to mention it again before we go?
It's the last episode of the Liminal Room series I've been doing. So it's just kind of packing everything together in one big, let's call it a celebration of the insane experiences that people have had since basically the 40s. Some of the best documented liminal experiences that people have had when having contact events. And I also share something that happened to me as well.
Awesome. Anybody else? Eric, you got anything coming up?
Still hard at work on that book, UFO 1977, about a third of the way through the entries, and still going for the first day of 2027 release date for the 50th anniversary of the first sighting.
I'm looking forward to that, and I want to see this project that I know Dan's working on. You guys keep us posted on those. And hey, one last piece of news, and I just want to put this out there for people. Our good friend Patrick over at Vetted just hit the 100,000 sub mark, and I want to give him a quick shout out because Pat has been in this space. Like, he is one of the first friends I made doing this channel, and he's one of the first people. He called me. He reached out to me personally and was like, "Hey man, I want to just hang out and talk to somebody else who's doing this." And we became friends. And I just, I know there's a lot of us out there making UFO content, but Patrick's been doing it for a long time, and he's really great. And just congratulations, Pat. This is awesome. 102,000. He just got his plaque from YouTube. Here it is. Look at that. Go, Pat.
I want one of those.
Yeah. Soon.
Nice.
All right, guys, let's wrap it there. Thanks for hanging out with us this week. It was great to see all of you guys in the chat. Awesome show this week. We had Gerbio. We had Chris Ramsey drop by. You never know who you're going to see over here at the Night Shift Global Headquarters Friday nights, Doomer Fridays. As always, let us know what you think in the comments. If you have thoughts or questions, leave them there. If you want to suggest the topic for a future show, you can go to teamnightshift.com and you can click make contact. You could send an email directly to me. I read them all and I will respond as long as it's not too crazy. And while you're there, look at our merch. Check out a piece of merch, pick up a t-shirt, coffee mug, beer glass, we got it all. And if you want to really be awesome, if you're nasty, you can become a member of the channel or you can support us over on Patreon. And not just me, but everybody else here as well. So, follow your favorite UFO content creators and help them out. We are doing important work, people. Matt Brown, he's right. It takes all of us. It's going to take more than just a tweet. We got to get organized. We got to stay focused. We got to stay active. We got to be on this. And it's our job to talk to people, explain why it's important, what's important about it, why they should be thinking about it. And that's your job. So go be a hero. Talk about UFOs in line at the grocery store this weekend. All right, guys, that's it for me. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves and each other and keep looking up.